Today, the closed call heard around the world. Just a little bit more coming right up. To going as well as the supporters and followers on Periscope. I thank you guys so much for all that you do to support the channel. So thank you guys so much. So we have just a couple of things I would like to get into, and it's going to be we're going to start with the call, and this was a call that a virtual call that the president elect, the purported president elect, is what I'm going to use on this. He's featured in this call along with civil rights activist. Now, of course, media, they will spin and coin these coin the individuals as leaders, and they'll do what they do. But on this show, they will be referred to as civil rights activist or even enthusiast, is about as far as we will go on that today. So I thank you guys so much for tuning in, and we might take a look at a poll study from the AmericanMilitaryNews.com that's polled the Americans on their response to the mocktail. And you guys know what that means on this channel. And we'll get into that. So before we do that, I want to give a warm welcome and thanks to the loyal patrons and also to you guys for coming out. So hello to Melinda Ann Burns, Old Head Deuce, John H. Roberts Jr., Nick Smith, and hello to Touchdown Sean. Thank you guys so much. And really quickly, I'll take you right to our sponsors for a nice thanks, and we'll be right back. We'll be right back. This show is brought to you in part by our sponsors. Whether you're interested in health, culture, politics, scripture, automobiles, entertainment, history, and much, much more, there's something for everyone. So please check out Derek C. Williams, Killer Whale Channels, The Definition of Anarchy, Joseph Francis Burton, Chrysler Imperial H, Little Miss Goth, AZ Infidel, Cold War Jesus, Anthony Scioli, and Let the Truth Be Told. We'll be right back to the news right after this. All right. Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate you guys for taking care with the AI today. That's really helpful during these times. It really helps out. If you can just hit that like or unlike, that's a thumbs up, thumbs down, or even, as I call it, sharing by throwing caution to the wind out there. Thanks so much. And also make sure you're still subscribed. So we have about a four-part feed for our AI around here. That's a thumbs up, thumbs down, throwing caution to the wind by sharing, or just simply making sure that you are still subscribed. That's all very helpful here. So I want to get back to the premise of today's commentary. And the commentary will come from a Joe Biden's virtual call with Kamala Harris and civil rights activist members from the Black community. And we'll get right into that call. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you to that call, give you guys a couple of minutes to get going in here. And then I'm going to play that call for you. And then I will offer my own assertions and my own hypothesis on this particular call. Of course, there is actual visual imagery footage, but I um I thought it might be important to get as much context because this call was supposed to be a closed call, and apparently it wasn't closed. And somebody amongst the ranks decided they would share this call. So I guess kudos to them. So what we're going to do is we will play the call. I want to give a warm hello again in the chat. Hello, Old Head Deuce. Garrett Reed, thank you so much. It's been a lifetime. Please, guys, make sure you're still subscribed. I am getting information from, I think, a reliable source that this channel is under some level of suppression. And it's not, or am I surprised? No. But what can I do? What can we do to survive during these times is to, as I say, take care of the AI however you can. Support comes in many ways, and just hitting the like, unlike, sharing, all of these things make a huge difference. So hello to Angela Reed. Thank you so much for coming in. It's nice to see you guys. Hi, AZ Infidel. I really appreciate it. And so in just about one more minute, we will get into our actual story, our feature story of the day. I thought it might be nice if you guys could hear this. This is going to come from The Intercept, is where we're going to take the actual audio from on the stream. And I think the audio from this particular stream gives you a little bit. I mean, there's a slight digression in the actual audio, but it gives you some context. The Intercept is not my vetted source by any stretch, but for these purposes, I think we can glean a little bit more of what was discussed. And of course, I'll give you my assertions or my hypothesis going forward, because tomorrow is, it's a poignant kind of a date. I mean, whether it's media driven or not, but I don't think it's a constitutional date, is from what I gather. But it's going to be used, to me. It's more of a benchmark. It's a benchmark, I guess, going into Jan 2021. So we'll be keeping an eye or an ear to the ground on that, and I'll bring you things as I get them. But with that said, I'm going to play the clip for you. So we'll go ahead and head over. Thank you guys so much once again for tuning into this segment of commentary of Black Spring with Autumn. So I will go ahead and give you the context of this particular liner. And this is coming from The Intercept inside Biden's meeting with civil rights leaders. In a recording obtained by The Intercept, Biden was unenthusiastic about executive action and warned against police reform before Georgia's Senate runoff. So those of you that may be joining us from Georgia, we did have a bit of a, we did watch the actual debate between Kelly Loeffler, and then it was Warnock. We did watch that. So all the best to you guys, of course. But I think Jan 5th is another benchmark. So we've got tons of benchmarks, but here, according to this, I'll give you the context. I'm going to give you too much of their context because I'm going to play it, because some of it goes into it. So according to this, the Democrats in the House, Senate around the country have been urging President-elect Joe Biden to use the maximum amount of executive authority available to him in order to grow the economy, expand civil rights, protect the climate, and otherwise implement the agenda he ran on, despite the expected obstruction from a Republican Senate. On Tuesday, a group of civil rights leaders urged him privately to take a slew of executive action during a 2-hour virtual meeting. So, without further ado, I will play that for you right now, and then we'll come back in for assertions. I thank you guys so much for tuning into this segment of Black Spring with Autumn. Hi, Paralysis by Analysis. Thank you so much for coming in. I would say eBear. Maybe it's an eBear concerto. I'll get back to you on that. But much work to do there. So thank you so much for coming in, and thank you guys so much for taking care with the Chanalytics. And this is what I call a little bit of our, around here we handle a lot of things, whether they're from an unconstrained vision of politics or whether it's more of a constrained vision of politics. But and occasionally we get into some human interest. But this is, of course, more along the political. And so we're going to just have a look at this. So I will go ahead and play that for you right now. Thank you guys so much for tuning in and for all that you do to support the channel. Thank you guys so much. And here we are.
This is a completely closed call, so just want to remind you of that. There's no recording.
Clearly, somebody did record, and now I have a copy of it, and now you're listening to it. Present for the Zoom was Derek Johnson, president of the NAACP, Vanita Gupta, a former ACLU attorney who was Obama's Civil Rights Division head, the Reverend Al Sharpton, Sherilyn Ifill, Melanie Campbell, who is the president of the National Coalition on Black Civic Participation, and soon-to-be former Congressman Cedric Richmond, who Biden has named an assistant to the president. In many ways, it was a Zoom call like any other.
Can't hear you, Cedric. You're on mute.
It also included a few Biden-esque boasts.
I'm the first person, black or white, who called attention to the fact that you were finding that there was the rate of people who were African Americans are dying was 3 times that of white people. I don't carry around a stamp on my head saying progressive and I'm AOC, but I have more of a record of getting things done in the United States Congress than anybody you know. Anybody you know.
Some Biden cringe.
Hear me? Minority white European. And you guys are going to have to start working more with Hispanics, who make up a larger portion of the population than y'all do.
And some Biden temper.
Let's get something straight. You shouldn't be disappointed.
Space for an airing of, if not grievances, at least slight disappointments, and a forum for civil rights leaders to lobby Biden on everything from personnel to executive action to legislation. Many of those in the meeting urged Biden to be aggressive in his use of executive power.
I want to ask that you consider issuing an executive order to create a national task force to examine challenges to our democracy, a national voter access commission.
It's going to be important, for example, that one of your first actions is a reversal of the executive order that President Trump promulgated that essentially seeks to gag conversations about diversity, race, and history among anyone who contracts with the federal government. And so we would ask you to lend your voice and your strength and your influence and your power and your ability to reach across the aisle to try and pass the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act. But failing that, we would ask you to pull from that act measures that can be enacted by executive order. You have the power to call for a national database on police misconduct. You have the power to ask for a registry that will allow people to easily search in public multiple misconduct complaints against particular officers. You have the ability to impose a database around police killings and police shootings. And these are things that you can do by executive order. There is a prison tragedy that is unfolding because of COVID. I encourage you to use your power to order an investigation of state and local prisons and jails to find out precisely what is happening. And you have that power through the Department of Justice.
And here's Al Sharpton.
We don't care about throwing fists in the air and the symbols. We want the substance. The Joe Biden I've known is substance. The Kamala Harris I've known doing the things with your executive.
Two episodes ago, we devoted an entire show to just that. It turns out that Biden does not appear to be a deconstructed subscriber. Here's how he responded to those calls.
There's some things that I'm going to be able to do by executive order. I'm not have some not going to violate the Constitution. There is a Constitution. It's our only hope. our only hope. And the way to deal with it is where I have executive authority. Question where I can come along and say, I can do away with this. Can't do it by executive order. You do that. This. I know you know it. And poor Kamala's heard me say this, and so has Cedric. I used to have a friend named Bob Gold, who was a really bright guy, not much of it. We went to school together. He wasn't an academic whiz.
Back in the day that was used as a stand-in for understand, but adding in an element of higher level awareness.
He looked at me and said, Joe, I not only understand you, I overstand you. I'm sure you overstand me here.
Biden also heard from the NAACP's John. The Biden camp had been leaning toward
I would like to caution you in terms of anything that could peel off a disastrous impact on voters in Georgia. Shirley Sherrod is a civil rights legend, a hero. I live in the state of Mississippi. I'm surrounded by civil rights icons, and I understand the reverence that many of them have, particularly in rural areas.
Johnson is being delicate there. His point that if Biden doesn't win Georgia, he'll struggle to get his people confirmed is a solid one, but he's being polite. It'll also block his entire legislative agenda. But our younger listeners might not remember the story of Shirley Sherrod, who Johnson mentions at the end of that clip. Let's take you back to July 19th, 2020. Development for the Agriculture Department.
You know, the first time I was faced with having to help a white farmer save his farm, he took a long time talking, but he was trying to show me he was superior to me. I know what he was doing, but he had to come to me for help. What he didn't know while he was taking all that time trying to show me he was superior to me was I was trying to decide just how much help I was going to give him. I was struggling with the fact that so many Black people have lost their farmland, and here I was faced with having to help a white person save their land. So I didn't give him the full force of what I could do.
By the end of the day, she'd been fired, with Vilsack saying that she had to go because she was an obstacle to the agency's effort to reckon with its troubled past on racial justice issues. Sherrod, who was married to civil rights legend Reverend Charles Sherrod, said she'd been taken out of context and that she was telling a story of growth, redemption, and rethinking, not one of hate. The NAACP, after she'd been canned, found the full audio of her talks, and here's the critical part that was left out.
So I took him to a white lawyer. I figured if I take him to one of them, that his own kind would take care of him. That's when it was revealed to me that y'all, it's about poor versus those who have. And not so much about white. It is about white and Black, but it's not, you know, it opened my eyes because I took him to one of his own and I put him in his hand and felt, okay, I've done my job.
From there, Sherrod talks about how the lawyer didn't actually do anything and the farmer came to her in desperation a week before the foreclosure. She scrambled and found an attorney who'd worked with the area's Black farmers and urged him to take the man's case. Here was her conclusion.
Working with him made me see that it's really about those who have versus those who don't. You know, and they could be Black, they could be white, they could be Hispanic. And it made me realize then that I needed to work to help poor people, those who don't have access the way others have.
After that, Vilsack apologized and offered her a job back at the USDA. But this new job would focus on fixing the agency's race issues. She said she didn't want that burden and turned it down. Flash forward 10 years again and back to Johnson.
Shirley Sherrod is a civil rights legend, a hero. I live in the state of Mississippi. I'm surrounded by civil rights icons, and I understand the reverence that many of them have, particularly in rural areas. So I want to make sure that as you consider appointments, that you do so with November 5th in mind, so that we don't miss an opportunity to be able to get confirmed some of the outstanding candidates that you're going to bring forward. If you decide to take that route, I strongly encourage you to reach out to Ms. Sherrod, have a conversation with her. I strongly encourage you to talk to Black farmers so that you have a clear understanding of the impact any decision can have on the January 5th election. It is our goal as NAACP, it is our goal as civil rights community for this administration to be successful. And it can only be the success we need it to be if we have the ability to get good people confirmed.
Biden, however, used the warning on Sherrod as a jumping off point for a counter warning. Don't push too hard on police reform, he told the group, at least not now.
One of the things I'd be concerned about, just as was pointed out to me that you wanted me to be concerned, Derek, I think it was you said it, about, dealing with Vilsack as in terms of agriculture. Well, first of all, you can learn more about Vilsack's record, but my point is this. I don't think we should make that a big issue going into before January 5th when the election takes place down in Georgia. But I also don't think we should get too far ahead of ourselves on dealing with police reform in that, because they've already labeled us as being defund the police. Anything we put forward in terms of the organizational structure to change policing, which I promise you will occur, promise you. Just think to yourself and give me advice whether we should do that before January 5th, because that's how they beat the living hell out of us across the country, saying that we're talking about defunding the police. We're not. We're talking about holding them accountable. I just raised it with you to think about. How much do we push between now and January 5th? We need those 2 seats about police reform, but I guarantee you there will be a full-blown commission. I guarantee you it's a major, major, major element. And as Reverend Al said, I was a pain in the ass to everybody except him when we did the commission before. I didn't think we went far enough. We can go very far. It matters how we do it. I think it matters how we do it. As I learned early on, it's all right to question your opponents, and you're not my opponents, any of you. It's always appropriate to question your opponent's judgment. It's never appropriate to question their motive, even if you know it. Because once you question their motive, you're done. You can't get anything done. By the getting anything done. So we can be tough, question judgment, not motive to get things done. Anyway, I'm going to yield to my vice president, and she can correct all the mistakes I made.
That was Joe Biden, and that's our show.
And bit slash hypothesis, however you want to spin it. Well, and then I'm actually going to drop the link out there for you guys, if anyone cares to chime in on this, because You know, anybody that dissents at all, you know, you're going to get the ripple. So with that said, I'm going to go into my analysis. So not exactly the warm reception or sense of gratitude or even respect for his supporters, right? For the demographic of supporter that they pandered to off and on for the last, you know, nearly 4 years, or for 9 months. Okay. So it was actually quite demoralizing and condescending in the tone here. So what I'm going to say for one is I'm going to talk about a few issues that were brought up. So he talks about, of course, the whole, you know, the police reform is mentioned and the edicts on police reform. And then he talks about, you know, the other issue came up about the cabinet picks. These are things that are brought up throughout this meeting. Now, that was only a segment, a small piece of a 2-hour virtual call. All right. He mentions infrastructure and, of course, the Senate races ahead. So to me, this kind of panned out more strategic it's very political. You know, they're trying to, January 5th, they don't want to do anything to damage what they're trying to achieve with the Senate races. Okay. So, and then of course he goes into his usual, you know, I have done as much as anybody will do. And to me, I might even say, and I'm done. What do you want from me? What do you people want from me? I don't have anything else for you. In fact, you better get out there and hit yourself to the Hispanics, the new voter base, which will ultimately be the majority in 20 years, roughly 20 years. You might better get out there and hit yourself to them, because I've done as much as anybody has done or is going to do. And at times, you know, even with all this condescending and demoralizing tone, he's actually getting help with memory, or remembering what he's talking about. All right. So I'm going to tell you the truth. If you guys remember the movie, this had the tone of a hijacking or a stick up. And there's a Constitution. I'm not going to violate the Constitution. You see Nancy Pelosi do that all of the time. Anytime that they're close to being exposed, or things are not about to go their way, or things are really high stakes, they become guardians of the Constitution all of a sudden. There is a Constitution. I'm not going to violate it. You can't make me do anything illegal, you people. You can't make me. It was more bitter, and it was a cantankerous, it sounds like a cantankerous old man, totally annoyed. So I'm going to slow down here just a bit. All right, let me read just a couple of comments here. Let me see. We have Touchdown Sean says Biden basically trashes Black supporters. He's no respect or regard for them. I just don't. And this is not an "I told you so" type of commentary. That's not what I'm offering here. I'm simply just pointing out that he wants to distance himself from the campaign and the rhetoric that he ran on. They ran on defunding the police. And they might try to yank this down, and they can try. They can do what they do. As Nancy said, people will do what they do. Yes, they may do that. But they're trying to distance themselves from BLM, the whole bit. And he just said it himself. They are talking about holding police accountable all of a sudden. It's about accountability all of a sudden. Okay, so I'm going to go back in here. All right, so also, not only is he distancing himself, but, you know, just a few days ago, let me take you to something else. That BLM basically has reported that they've survived via crowdfunding out of all the money that they raised. But everybody else knows, all the people that have been paying attention, they realized that they needed to go. You got to an Act Blue button when you tried to go to that website and donate. But then many of these, the BLM 10 members were told, they were given a bureaucracy policy and saying that that all of the organizations or chapters weren't even legitimate. So they weren't even eligible for some odd 500,000 money in grants during that. So out of all the money they raised, all of the chapters weren't even eligible for the funding for a grant. But they raised millions and millions of dollars. Okay. So that's just a little background digression there. But here, I'll go back into this. So he talks about, the thing about this is that from a political standpoint, he doesn't want to risk right now. If he is successful in his quest, if he's absolutely successful, him trying to rule by edict or fiat on issues of whether it's, defund the police reform, climate change, global taxation, whatever you want to call it, he's risking alienating the Congress. So is that something that he wants to go in guns a-blazing with edicts and executive orders? Because of course he's got to still throw some jabs or whatever at what Trump has done via executive orders. He's got to keep that energy going. But it doesn't sound like anybody that's very confident. Sounds like a very fragile place that they are in politically right now. And I'm not sure whether the tone that I'm getting from him is it because of the Senate races that you're worried, or is there something else going on? You don't sound confident about where you are, and you sound pretty annoyed sitting in front of these Black people that you've been pandering to. He seems absolutely annoyed, like absolutely disgusted. Like, what do these people want from me? Like, it's like you're gritting your teeth every other word. He's exercising some remarkable restraint. Hello. Let me read a comment here. Looks like Joseph Francis Burton says, I listened to a left-leaning podcast hosted by young Bernie fans. They are really upset that Biden won't enact executive powers for student loan forgiveness. And Francis Burton says they had no patience for legislature. They probably don't even know one exists. Let's see. In other words, they wanted Biden to be a dictator for them. He was just absolutely annoyed. I mean, he's absolutely annoyed. It's almost like a lecture you're getting from somebody that's really angry with you. Like, I don't know, if you don't get away, why are you people bothering me? And with that said, I would like to interject just to share the screen here. I want to share this with you. Coming from BLM, they are running for the hills, trying to distance themselves from what they ran on. But it's still out there. It's still out there. So with that said, let me just give you this little nugget. All right. According to the Black Lives Matter Instagram page, it says on the night of the Biden-Harris victory, BLM sent a letter requesting a meeting. Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, and Representative Cedric Richmond met with several civil rights groups yesterday. We weren't invited. Black life cannot wait. Creating thriving conditions for Black communities in the 21st century cannot be put on pause. As the organization leading the largest global social justice movement, we demand a seat at the table. To ignore us and the 64,000 of you who have signed our petition is to ignore our generation's most pressing demands for transformative justice. At Joe Biden, at Kamala Harris, we are waiting. Fam, let them know you are waiting too. So they've got quite a few interesting comments from this post. And yes, that's if you're picking up what I'm putting down there. All right, so I'm going to keep going here. I'm going to round out, not too big of a summation or anything here, just or hypothesis here, but there's nothing new under the sun. There's nothing new to be revealed. It's just the amount of corruption that's just like threaded through this, just absolutely threaded through the government and the people that are in these servants that are in these offices. It's staggering. And to me, there can be no real justice. There can be no real unity. There can be no real liberty without any form of justice or without any form of, if there's no correction, there's nothing. It's just rampant. It's rampant. It's rabid. So I'm going to finish this one out here. All right. So, and then what does he do? He's offering appeasement, but commissions. I'm giving you a commission. I guarantee I'm going to give you a commission. Just about everything, no matter whether you agree with it or not, everything that anybody that comes to, that presents themselves to that party, anything that they come to them with, they end up, oh, well, we're going to do a commission on that. We got a lot of commissions on the table right now. And what's the government done with many of these commissions? It's what it is. It's a commission. Every issue, whether it's a genuine concern or what kind of support it has, even if it's warranted, you're going to get a commission. All right. But what's happened is the auxiliaries have come to collect on the promises from this campaign. They're coming. They're chomping at the bit. They're biting. And he's very defensive. I have done more than you. Honestly, he should just put that on a rotation and just loop it, because that's what he says every time he addresses a group of Black people. He has it's the same responses. That sham of an interview that he did with Charlemagne from the Breakfast Club, same kind of a bit. And that's when he went into his, if you've had trouble figuring out whether you're for him or Trump, then you ain't Black. That's where he painted himself into that corner with the same kind of rhetoric. I'm surprised he didn't do it right there. He was probably close. He just forgot. But you can bet he has cabinet members, but he's going to be told who's to go in his cabinet. And it's going to be based on the global agenda. It's going to be, either he's doing a third term Obama cabinet, or it's going to be somebody from the globalist agenda that's going to carry out. I mean, he's already made John Kerry his climate czar. But my final question, and this is just for thought, and then I'll open this up. If you guys want to chime in, that's fine. I'll give you your 3 to 5 minutes, roughly, maybe a little bit more, give or take. However, I'm just curious, how do you garner the kind of credibility amongst these DC how do you garner greasy credibility these days? How is that done? It's a little greasy, okay? Because the problem with BLM and these civil rights activists is that they create these political action committees, and then they end up in a backroom deal that gets the Black community hitched to a con job or shaft. In fact, I'm not convinced that this kind of a thing didn't happen during the civil rights era. That this kind of back deal, off the record kind of meetings didn't happen, and the con jobs didn't come out then. And people didn't have, of course they didn't have the technology to put it on record. But I'm not convinced that didn't happen. Whether that was with Civil Rights Act 64, Voting Rights Act, whatever. And I think everybody knows Black people haven't always voted at that high percent of Democrat prior to the Civil Rights Acts and the Voting Rights Act. That's historically documented. And I'm telling you, I don't think it was done. It wasn't done on the record. What were they promised? I'm not saying that they were promised. I'm not saying, but I'm saying there's a chance that these backroom deals occurred. You do this and I'll do this. And of course, Biden's, well, we can do this, but we can't question the motives, because if we do that, we're DOA. It's just absolute, oh my gosh. In fact, I even heard of some of these the other black auxiliaries responding to this. But to me, it's not even the way that, it's not even the tone or the countenance of this whole thing. It's the way you're going about it. It's the way, it's who you're involving yourself with, and you're surprised that you're getting burned. You were already burned. The internal conflicts between BLM and who's going to seize power, and and why didn't they have coolers there? I mean, why wasn't Patrice Coolers there, or Colors? I don't know, however you pronounce her name, but why wasn't she there? Because there's probably a backdoor closed meeting somewhere. Probably have had a meeting with her. That's why she has, what is it? We talked about that a couple of days ago, about how she's basically self-pronounced. She's assumed the role of executive director of this group. But as I said before, this is not, nobody wanted to be the face of that group, because nobody wanted to be associated. You got to keep things gray, because if you keep things gray, you can, and confusing, and people are more likely to be deceived when things are not clear. You leave the door open for deception when things are not clear. So no, you don't want anybody to know who's leading it. You don't want anybody to know who's donating. You don't know where the money's going. Because when it's all over, it's by design. It wasn't meant for you. The means justifies the end. The end is what you don't know. But I do believe that it's always about the revolution with this kind of a thing. You need to, radicals. I mean, that group had the support of known domestic terrorists. I mean, honestly, it's serious. Old Head Dude says, don't question the motive. So what did I do? Did I drop that link for you guys? I think I did. So yeah, we're going to do this under 1 hour, but I did put the link out. So if anybody wants to grab it, you do what you're comfortable with. It's always great to have that interaction with you guys here. So you guys are great in terms of chat. You guys bring a lot to the chat. And of course, this whole thing doesn't hang in there without you guys. So I really appreciate it. And of course, the buffering is real. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to do one more liner and see if I have any. I'll give you guys a couple minutes if I have any takers on that. But we're going to go over to our next and final liner of today. I thank you guys so much for taking the time. And before we do that, we'll have a nice word of thanks to our sponsors. Thank you guys so much for all that you do. This show is brought to you in part by our sponsors. Whether you're interested in health, culture, politics, scripture, automobiles, entertainment, history, and much, much more, there's something for everyone. So please check out Derek C. Williams, Killer Whale Channels, The Definition of Anarchy, Joseph Francis Burton, Chrysler Imperial H, Little Miss Goth, AZ Infidel, Cold War Jesus, Anthony Scioli, and Let the Truth Be Told. We'll be right back to the news right after this. All right, guys. So what we're going to do, we're going to go right to our very next and final line for today. Thank you guys so much. If you guys have any comments there, or if anybody wants to grab the link, let me know. We're going to go to our poll that's coming from the American militarynews.com. All right, this liner is featuring a poll. Nearly half of Americans said they won't get the CV-19 mocktail, afraid of getting infected, side effects. All right, so it looks like you have a bit of the boxing, packaging here. All right. Now this was written by Kristen F. Dalton of the Staten Island Advance. All right. As first doses of the CV mocktail begin to arrive in states across the country, many Americans are unsure about whether they'll get the mocktail. 1/4 of adults in the United States are still on the fence about whether they'll receive the mocktail, and nearly another quarter said that they won't be mocktailed. According to a poll conducted by the Associated Press NORC Center for Public Affairs Research, most people cited side effects from the mocktail as the reason for not wanting to be mocktailed. Nearly half of the poll participants, 47%, said they were worried about, getting the CV-19 from the mocktail. To quote, "I think there's been such an intensive worldwide effort to create this mocktail and so much scrutiny to make sure it's done right. They wouldn't allow a mocktail to move forward if they didn't have confidence in it. It's been approved at multiple levels," end quote. Mayor Bill de Blasio previously said when he asked about people's reluctance to get the mocktail. Approximately 6 million doses of the mocktail are expected to be made available nationwide, with the federal government distributing it to the state via the military and private delivery companies like FedEx. Governor Andrew Cuomo and de Blasio said the mocktails will begin arriving in New York State and City this weekend and into next week. New York expects to receive approximately 170,000 doses of the mocktail from the first shipment, which will be prioritized for nursing home residents, staff, and high-risk hospital workers. Compared to 51% of people aged 45 to 59 and 36% of people under age 45. Overall, 47% of adults said they would get mocktailed, the results show. Epidemiologists, virologists, and others in the field have estimated that at least 70% of the population in the United States needs to be mocktailed to reach herd immunity, which is the point at which enough people have been mocktailed and are protected from the virus that is not a large-scale threat. It is not a large-scale threat. Less than half of the people polled, 3 out of 10, say they are extremely confident in the mocktail's effectiveness and safety, according to the poll, which also said about the same number of people said they aren't confident in its safety and effectiveness. According to a new data report released by the Food and Drug Administration, the mocktail begins providing protection against the virus after just 10 days of the first dose. The 2-dose mocktail has an efficacy rate of 95% after receiving 10 days after the initial dose. According to the data from the trials, many participants experienced minor side effects such as fevers and aches, but no serious and adverse side effects have been reported. Pfizer data did reveal that many patients felt ill shortly after receiving the second dose of the mocktail. However, symptoms did not last long. So what I'll do is put that in your glove for the fight. Hope you guys are doing well out there. Thank you so much for tuning in. Hello to Chrysler Imperial H. Ooh. Oh my gosh, I've got a strand of people here. It's amazing. How did I miss that?
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Is that Old Head Deuce? Is it AZ? Are you here?
Yes, I'm good.
Oh my gosh, it's so nice to have you guys on. How are you?
I'm good. I have a video I'd like you to watch later, but the private comments aren't showing.
Okay. All right.
I can drop it in there for you.
Sure, sure. I really appreciate it. And hello to Old Head Deuce and AZ Infidel. Thank you guys so much for coming on. I really appreciate it. It's like I come out, I come out of a screen, and I've got people. I've got guests. So yeah, if you let's see, I'll look for it here.
Yeah, it should be a checkbox for private comments and
Yeah, I'm looking for that. Or either if you have my email, if you want to shoot it over there, and I can bring it up from there. You know, we'll get around it. We'll get around things around here. Hello, alien believers.
Well, tomorrow is a big day. The electoral ballots are all going to be sent to Washington, and they will sit there for about 30 days. And this video I want to send you addresses a possible scenario that can salvage this election and keep Trump in office.
Okay, well, I guess I'm looking for it amongst the messages, and like I said, worst case, you can just shoot it to me. You can just shoot it to me via my email, and for anyone, actually, I don't mind putting it out there. My email, it's just blackspringwithautumn@gmail. If anybody wants to send anything, that's an open-ended kind of a open-ended invitation on that. I'm not sure if that's in the community tab, but that's what it is. So what I'll do is I'll go over and see if it's there. So I'm not sure why that's not coming up, but where there's a will, there's a way. At least they used to say that. Let's see. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and we are going to upload something as soon as possible. And Old Head Deuce, are you there? I see you on the screen, but I don't hear you.
Speaker, can you hear me?
Now I hear you.
Oh, I apologize.
There you go. I haven't heard a word of you said.
AZ,
Go ahead.
Oh, AZ, I salute. But I wanted to ask AZ, what does he think of the ongoing theory that all elections are fixed, and that we're just coming to light to that now? Not we, but people are coming to waking up to the fact that, hey, this is a lot more corrupt than I thought it was.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. If you remember, a few weeks ago, Sidney Powell at one of her press conferences suspected that they could have been using these systems all the way back to 2000.
Are you talking about cause I think I seen it on this show with the Smartmatic?
Yes.
Yeah, I made a lot of jokes about that. Still trying to get one.
So, we all need one.
We all need a Smartmatic. All your problems solved. Everything.
Yeah. Yep.
Fried chicken to your all your needs. Smartmatic. I need one.
I'm hoping that if Trump can stay in office, all this will be thoroughly investigated.
Yeah,
but
at
this point we can't trust our electoral system anymore.
Are you aware of Dick Gregory saying that Trump will be the last American president?
I'd heard that, but I hadn't looked into it.
You have to see the interview, yeah, because you're high information. I think that the end result is it okay? The right people are mad, okay? The right people are feeling injustice now, okay? So it's like, what's going to happen? And quite honestly, what's in it for me? I'm not asking you specifically. I'm just letting you know what's on my mind. I'm not asking you specifically.
Well, I mean, I have my political desires, and that is to see us pare back what has been created through Congress to get us closer to the Constitution.
I want to see somebody who's able to do anything, good
Well, you
or
know what?
bad.
Hang on just a second, guys. Actually, I think I have your video. Keep going, guys. I just wanted to say I do have your video, and I will play that. Yeah, you guys go ahead, and then when you're finished, I'll play that.
Okay, yeah, I joke around a lot and stuff like that. I troll in some places. I'm serious in others. I'm serious here, but I don't change my name. That could be an issue. I don't know. But I see you around the way, Mass. I see you in the high information chats.
I try to be diverse.
Mhm. Yeah, I'm not knocking it. Oh no, I'm not. I am a hotep, but that's the cards I was dealt. I am a this is I don't get all into my philosophies, but man, everybody is correct on the issue that we need any kind of positive change.
Yes.
It's almost like we want the change and everything's being kept the same, even though it's destroying the world.
Well, everybody's been promised everything, but it always seems to work out that only a few get what they want.
Mm-hmm.
And you hear various motivations as to why that happens, but essentially we don't know the truth as to why. But there's so many things that are wrong that I think if whoever was in charge made a concerted effort to address it, we would see, even at least a little bit of substantial change. We can't expect everything to change overnight, but I mean, some progress would be good on something.
I agree. I mean, I believe that change should be gradual, not big Godzilla giant changes that just rips the whole.
Yeah.
I give you an example of that. I thought it was very tacky for the leadership in Chicago to just break down those projects with no second thought to what those people might do. They're just digits to them. No second thought to what's going on. Now look at them now. They don't see they haven't admitted that fault. Chicago's a mess because they broke down the Cabrini Greens. But that's a microcosm of what I'm trying to convey is that they're out of touch, and it's too few people have too much power over too many people.
Yes.
All right, guys. What I'm going to do is I'm going to play. Your video, and then I'll give you guys a chance to do your comments after this one. So, and yeah, we are buffering. I'm not sure if it's the technocrats or whatnot, but thank you guys so much for tuning in, and we're going to go to this video right now. It's about a little under 7 minutes. So here we are.
I need to prepare you right now for Monday Madness. It's coming December the 14th. Today is Sunday, December the 13th. And I wanted to get ahead of the game just a little bit before you're going to just like the Wizard of Oz on the big screen, glaring and blaring at you. But when you look behind the curtain, when Toto pulls back the curtain, you'll see it was all a lie. The lie begins tomorrow with the selection of the Electoral College and they is. It's a facade. Here is the truth. They will seal those envelopes up tomorrow, and they will send them by special courier to Washington, D.C., where they will remain sealed until almost a month from now. In the meantime, there will be a lot going at those arguments from the Wisconsin Supreme Court that happened yesterday. And the last question I heard from the judge causes me great hope that Wisconsin could turn around. What happens if that happens? Well, I'll tell you what happens. All of a sudden, everything that the Wisconsin vote was certified on is null and void. So the Wisconsin legislature to send their own slate of electors. So even though we have all these mail-ins going tomorrow, all these certified looking stuff going to Washington, it's going nowhere except to sit and wait for a process to work itself out. So don't fall for the lies, because here's what will happen. On January the 6th, the Senate and the House will come into a joint session. Nancy Pelosi will be sit down. She will have no power. She will sit down. Authority. That he is in full of they're going to finally state could sign his name to accept those votes, knowing to Mike Pence and say, I object to that state's slate of electors. Now we have two senators that will also raise their hands, one of them being Rand Paul and the other one still that's just different. The Senate to accept the slate of electors or not. Why will it be per state? That's what the Constitution determines for the final vote, and it only lends to reason that that's what it would determine for the contingent votes throughout the whole process. If the House and the Senate, which are okay, so tomorrow is a facade. Tomorrow is to scare you. But there's only one way not to live in fear, and that's to live in knowledge and understanding. God said, he goes on to will not grain of a little and just determine knowledge is power. Understand. And I'll be getting through Monday Madness with all of you tomorrow. Okay. Bye-bye.
The internet is not on your side today, Autumn.
Oh my gosh. All right. Could you guys not hear any of that? Or was it just bad buffering? I noticed the buffering, but it seems like there was no sound at sometimes.
It buffered pretty bad on my end.
Well, I'm going to be honest. I'm not convinced that it's not, some level of censorship, because just about many channels I've seen with much greater following than mine. So yeah, I see. So I can't say, they just, any form of dissent, they're rejecting it. Hello there, old head Deuce. It's nice to see you in the live form. Never seen you in the live form there.
Well,
that's what you know. I'm not a bot.
You're not a bot.
I'm not a bot. No.
Okay, there you go. If you guys are concerned about old head being a bot, your avatar. I've always been very curious about who's behind that guy with the green eye and the red eye. Who's that?
You don't know, right? You don't know Riley from the Boondocks?
Well, not exactly.
Okay, I'm gonna tell you now, Autumn. About 11, 12 o'clock, right before you go to sleep, I want you to start putting on the Boondocks, right? And go from episode 1, season 1, all the way to the end.
Well, you know what? I think I've seen at least one of those episodes, but it was so long ago. I wasn't like I wasn't on it, like following and stuff.
Oh my God, you're such a nerd. I just love it.
Oh, wait, here we have a comment here. For Paralysis Analysis says that Uncle Algorithm doesn't like the stuff you're saying, bud. Too much truth. Yeah. Well, what can I say? But yeah, so go ahead. I'm sorry.
Only 20, 30 people talking about, water cooler talk, Miami lost. What else you want to talk about? I mean, what else is out there? Black Spring with Autumn. Let's go. I mean, I could go and watch all that. I used to be a crazy Ravens fan. In the House of Ray Lewis. Oh yeah, I used to be ignorant. Black Spring, ignorant. You know what that means? Going as Lockhart. Ignorant.
Okay, I will. Well, I'm trying to try not to lose everybody. It seems like I lost everybody and I picked some people back up. But
no, AZ here. We're good.
AZ's here. Says Alien Believers is here. So I thank you guys. I appreciate it. I apologize.
Yeah. By the way, not to be rude, AZ, that was a good video. Everything you said in it.
I reposted it in the chat. I would encourage everyone to watch it all the way through, because we're in a psychological war right now, and they keep trying to kill our morale. And this thing is far from over. It is far from over. But they're going to convince you tomorrow that it's done.
Oh, yeah. I think Australia already rejected the vaccine, so it's too many. Because if you take the vaccine, you pop up HIV positive.
Yeah, really.
We covered that one, but don't forget to use the mocktail a lot here. I'm trying to keep them from yanking me. I know they're not happy already, but that AI is on my heels.
Yeah, so I agree with AZ. We're all made to feel a certain way, and the simplest way I can put it is that knowing is half the battle. The other half is moving right, and that is according to your region and what you can do and not do.
Exactly.
I don't have any other thing I could say publicly, I guess alive, I could say, but that is the best advice that I can give to anybody of any age across the board. And knowing is a big part of it.
Yes, and you have to check
Because-
many
because-
sources to find
Yeah,
out
yeah,
what's really going on.
because knowing is a journey. You start finding out stuff and it's open up more doors and more doors open and more doors. Like, oh my goodness. That's why
We've
I
all been
appreciate
there.
Yeah, that's why I appreciate the show, Spring.
Yes.
Because me and AZ, we're not gonna let you go crazy, but we're gonna watch.
Well, I'm trying to, just, I don't know. I will tell you that opening story. I didn't want to go into, I'm not a supporter of BLM and some of these in these groups or whatnot, but I'm just thinking, but I'm tired of people, the surprised response. Where does that come from? Is that cognitive dissonance or what is it? I mean, how can you're making deals with the devil and then you're surprised when you get left holding the bag or
I wouldn't start a movement unless you know who COINTELPRO is, unless you know how they play. You can start everybody feels the same way. Oh man, we need to do something all across the board. But it's right now. I got the popcorn. Power versus authority. Power versus authority. I'm just sitting back watching. To be honest with you, because this is interesting.
What
are they
is?
going to do? Are the masses going to get out of their comfort zones provided by the same entity that provided the comfort zone? They're going to give that up to go to by whatever means, because they know what we already know what we want. We already know what freedom is. It's in the DNA, right? We already know what we want. We already know there's just a better way to get. Too many people walking around and don't know what the purpose is and all of that. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So yeah, but that's another show. This is Black Spring with Autumn. So what I'm saying is, so we all do know. I mean, we all call up there's a lot of unseen pain, concerns, anxieties behind why we are all here on this cast. But the Black Spring is searching for the end game, and we all are. And it's a great platform to do that. Does that make sense?
I mean, I appreciate you guys. It helps.
Yeah, but there's a lot of. I mean, the range of people that are here, the spectrum, is great. It's great. I'm learning a lot here too, just from the chat, But I think that pertaining to your video, is everything he said is right. But we have to. How can you convey that to the people that need to hear it? Because people already know that already. I mean, me and you know that. I've known you just briefly in the chat. That's it.
Everyone is at a different level, and so you have to find a way to continue raising everyone equally. Some people are just learning. Others have been around for a while and have been paying attention.
I'm not annoyed about the guy that woke up today. I'm not annoyed by him, but what do I tell him? You've been following this for maybe for some time,
I usually ask people what they know. What's pressing on their minds today, and they'll sort of let you know where they're at, and you take it from there. The one major thing I have learned over the years is not to overwhelm people with all the things run in the past, because it just befuddles them.
But you've been short-circuited yourself. To come to that conclusion, you have been short.
I was red-pilled in the mid-90s.
Mm-hmm.
And
see, in the mid-90s. So okay, in the mid-90s, you're red-pilled. I don't know. I'm 51, right? So in the mid-90s, I was in college. I was totally blue pill.
Well,
Completely blue pill. Only time I started getting more of a red pill when I start not caring about the Democratic. I have a cousin she's been a Republican for years. Very like, the whole family at one point argued with her about this, but she said, look, at the end of the day, because she said Maxine Waters came up to her school and gave him a speech, and she looked around like, man, everything is not looking good. You know what I'm saying?
yes.
And she became a Republican as a child because she saw right through the crap when she came up to her school to talk to elementary kids. To this day, I mean, she's been a Republican since, you know, when it wasn't cool and like Trump. You know what I'm saying? That makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
I think for each one of us, it takes one thing. It takes one thing to get us to think, to make us doubt of something we thought we knew. And
yeah, but in the mid
that's where it
'90s,
starts. That's where it starts.
yeah, but to me, I don't know. I don't know how old you are. Maybe you're, I don't know, maybe a little younger than me.
I'm 63.
Okay. I had no idea.
I've been doing this.
You sound like a 30-year-old.
I've been doing this a long time.
Okay, so if you had a red pill in the '90s, you maybe your mid 30s.
I started waking up in around 1980. But I mean, there wasn't the flow of information there is now. So I had to actually like go to the library to look stuff up, which is very tedious.
Yeah.
But and for me, it was, to make a long story short, I was a single dad.
Okay.
And every year I'd fill out my income tax, and they had a thing called a child credit. Because I was a single dad, I'd get, I don't know, $1,200-$1,500.
Yeah, you need that.
Wasn't, well, it wasn't mine. And I started, you know, I knew that someone was paying for it, so I started looking. And that kind of led me down a very long path into everything.
These are simple questions, simple curiosity. And whoa, how do you convey that to someone else in the '90s? Because okay, Republicans, they know they can go get a star such as Trump or right now Trump would be Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yes.
If he was allowed to, you know. So Republicans know, you know, they have their tricks. Democrats do too. It's a whole different. Those tricks never cross. Like it's almost like this side can only do. You're bound by laws that we don't know. You know what I'm saying? When it comes to Democrat and Republican, I'm just pertaining to what you're telling me on your journey and what led you there, because that was organic, bro. So you took a red pill voluntarily in the mid '90s, when it was probably probably not popular to do it, but your reasons for doing it are organic, as opposed to say the average mental anorexic stereotype Republican. Put it that way.
In the '90s, it's like a lot of people became red pilled, and despite mainstream media and former administrations, it was the patriot and the militia groups that actually started spreading the information out. And,
that was up north, though, right? That was like Michigan.
No, I was here in Arizona. And but I mean, the only information we had were either satellite, satellite TV or shortwave radio. And back then, that was like the internet of today.
Yeah, we're talking. Yeah, I had a beeper, bro.
Yeah, I had a beeper too. But
wow, the Beeper brothers.
You gotta look that up, Spring. You gotta look that up.
No, I knew of the beepers. I just wasn't old enough to have one. It was You know,
You can't even, you can't even,
Well,
I can
the
I
thing
explain
think
it
about
I
to
learned
you.
about I
beepers,
think I learned about infidelity or something
I can
somehow
explain it
via
to you, and you
beaver
think you know.
story.
I can explain it to you, and you think you know, but you just won't get it.
the
You have a
downside of
cell
beepers
phone,
is you
Autumn.
can't answer them.
Yeah,
And the
yeah.
and the thought that goes through your head when your beeper goes off is what now?
Well, just a second. Let me just. You guys are
Like a
killing
doc,
me.
like a surgeon. I feel like a surgeon when the beeper go off. Like, man, I couldn't be that important. Excuse me, hon, my beeper's going off.
Well, here's the ticker here. Just to digress here into your video, Az. I thought that I thought that was a great. That was a really great. I think he was right on with that assertion because I think we're under the Wizard of Oz kind of the man
Yes.
behind the curtain. I think we've been under that for a long time, but
That is that we all want the same thing being manipulated and twisted on a
Yes.
such a
We
big scale that you can't. Man, AZ's up on. It's hard to explain. AZ's trying to convey something that's.
well we have been under 4 years of intense psychological warfare.
Mhm. I understand that George Floyd is a psyop. Okay, I'm high information. I'm not goofy with it. You know what I'm saying? But yeah. So I mean, I see right, not to the right. PSYOP is a psychological operation designed to move the masses.
Yes. Well, I mean, honestly, there's still things I have to look into with George Floyd.
Yeah. What George Floyd
Such
is a
as
PSYOP, not because of what happened. I don't try to wrap my mind around it, which I could give you my theory, but the end result is the whole damn world's torn up. Much like
see, Marxism wins by creating chaos, and that's who the enemy is. The battle we're in is our constitutional freedom versus Marxism. I mean, you can put any other face on it in order to disguise what it is, but it's our freedom that we are fighting for.
Yeah, and freedom is a simple concept.
Yes. Now, I mean, we get immersed in things like the election a month and a half ago, and the Biden laptop. But it's ultimately, are we going to win, or are we going to allow them to cheat in order to win? The democracy that they always talk about, they're willing to cheat at democracy in order to win.
I think that this has been going on a lot longer than what anybody in the chat realizes.
Oh, it has.
I read a book called
I can see that.
Are you aware of a book called The Creature from Jekyll Island?
Yes.
After I read that book, I didn't apply that book just to money. I applied it to everything, and I'm just like, you actually can.
Yes.
Because I'm reading the book, and at that time, shortly after I read the book, and if you read the book, if you haven't, it's hard to explain. Money and power and authority, Spring, but yeah, I don't best I can put, like, you're in the matrix and you're just a digit. And I will take and they literally, when I'm reading the book, they took all of the they took all the cell phones, the Sprint customers, and switched customers with like Metro and T-Mobile and all that kind of stuff, right? But I'm reading the book, and what he's saying is like, what I'm watching in reality, what he's saying in the book, like right in front of me, like it's to open my eyes to a lot of. That's why I already had a lot of emotions, Autumn. That's why it's just not to say it's a joke, but if you make a joke, I'm gonna laugh. You know what I'm saying? It's like the power and the massive amount of people that they move their opinions and move their thoughts is underestimated by the average person. Like,
Well, I think we're seeing it play out.
we've seen it play out, but
we're seeing the patriots rise up and saying, we are not going to accept this.
Yeah, but you
Should have
got
a comment
but
here from
that is
R.
okay.
Jones.
Okay, I'm a huge conspiracy theorist, and I think
Well,
that Mhm.
a conspiracy theory is just a theory. You know, I don't put the mystery over it by calling it a conspiracy theory.
Mhm. But conspiracy is me, you, and Autumn decide we're gonna just we're gonna talk in code. You know what I'm saying? We're just gonna talk in code the rest of the day. You know, that's what a conspiracy is, in theory, right? I mean, it's
Yeah.
just us saying, hey, we're gonna do this and that, but we don't have any power.
We have power to disseminate information.
Yep.
You know, we find things, we scrutinize them, we look at them critically, and when we think we're onto something, we pass it on to other people, who in turn hopefully pass it on also. Yeah.
And
Those are the weapons we have.
that's a cornerstone of human existence.
Well, we're in an information war.
Yeah.
You know, that's how you
And-
counter the psychological war.
Yeah, and when you say war, I don't it's imposing the will on someone else. People think of war
Well, I
as
think,
what movies tell you what war is, but
well,
it's really just
what I believe we're facing is, you know, the left called it a revolution, but practically what we're facing is a low-level insurgency. But they are intense, and they're well-funded, and they're well-backed, and they assail us every day. You know, they are waging war, and so we have to look at it as a low-level warfare that's going on, asymmetrical. It's an information war. It's a psychological war. They want to make us feel that we've been defeated.
Yeah,
But
trying to make it
it's
feel
all
a
an
certain
illusion.
way. No matter who you are, what your background, whatever you think, whatever, we're all trying to make us all feel a certain, or if not the same way. I completely agree with what you're saying.
So what I'm gonna do is, AZ, I'm going to. Did you say you put that link in the chat? I'm probably gonna watch it again because it just seems like it was doing all kinds of wonky things under the when I was playing it. The buffering was just out of control.
Yes, they're after you, Autumn.
Yeah, and that's the issue, man.
I said this.
I did not know you were such a nut, AZ.
What?
You know, I've been exposed to a lot of theories over the years.
Uh-huh. Oh yeah. You can bump heads with me, rebuttal, all that. I enjoy that. I enjoy that, man. But but at the end of the day, we want the same thing, which is freedom. Can I walk down the street and say, "Hey, what's up, AZ?" and shake your hand, and and have without all this intrusion?
Well, what I'm doing is, I forget how I came across Autumn's channel, but I saw a young, schooled, brilliant conservative, and so I support her channel.
You're most generous.
Absolutely.
Well, you know, you have a personal page somewhere up on the internet, and I saw that you were a flutist, and you'd gone.
Really?
You have come from I would assume, a military background, family-wise, and so I am assuming that you were raised with goals and
I think you're a great journalist.
Morals.
I do.
And you have a lot of potential, Autumn. But see, I'm involved with a lot of groups on the internet, numerous other channels, and in those channels, we try to create a community of different channels that spans the gamut of everything from just plain old bullshit up through politics and current events.
I call that spectrum. I have a spectrum of wide range of topics.
We try to get everyone talking. We don't all have to agree,
What do you think of Brian from High Impact?
I think he's a new one I started listening to. I can't think of anything off the top of my head.
Oh, he's on G Live. He got kicked off of YouTube.
Okay. Now this morning, surprisingly, Autumn, in my feed, my YouTube feed, it presented that live stream that you were on that I came into.
Really?
So yes, I had no idea who that person was. It just it came up in my subscriber feed somehow. And so I jumped over there, and lo and behold, you were there. And I liked what the gentleman was talking about. I was impressed with his athletic activity.
Oh, I know who you're talking about. The definition of
Yes.
anarchy. He's very,
Oh, and
wow.
he's Army, yeah.
Well, so
I,
I subscribe, and I'll support his channel.
Hey, brother. All right.
He actually, I have to get his book, and I mentioned to him, I think he caught it maybe at the end when it was over, but I want to get his book that he has. I think it's the Seeds of Dark Matter.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I haven't got it.
I would like to get that. Yeah, because I think he's ready to do, I think he's following it up. So yes, I really appreciate you guys, and I really appreciate you for coming on and support any form of support, because I'm actually going to try to put together a newsletter, but follow that up with an actual website, because, they are yanking people down, and they are suppressing channels. I mean, in fact, the definition told me that he is not getting notifications
Yes,
for my channel, and that's, and I didn't know, but I would imagine he's not the only one.
Well, I suggested in the chat a quick and easy way that we're doing it is to create a Google Hangouts group, and there, because everyone on Android has a Google account, basically. It's there. It's easy to use. It's not something you have to install. It's already part of Android. But sometimes we chat in it. All the YouTube, Parler, Twitch, etc. channels will drop their live stream links into it, just to keep the entire group up to speed on what's going on at the moment. And it's working out very well. And it would be a great idea if you and the other channels that you support got together and created a group and invite everybody there.
Yeah, I absolutely love the smaller channels. Plus, a young person going for it. Oh my God! So I gotta support that. But I'm gonna hop off, man. There's police activity in the area.
Okay.
My goodness. I'll be in a chat.
Okay. Thanks so much for coming on. I'm going to read one comment here. Let's see. Paralysis by Analysis says, as much as I respect the theme of, quote, freedom, too many reprobates jump on the bandwagon of unification, and Christ is the only reliable unifier.
Who is that?
This is Paralysis by Analysis.
Paralysis. I possess two parallel realities. One is political, and the other is my faith. The two intertwine at times, but ultimately I know biblically things are going to play out a certain way. What I ponder all the time is how, what we've experienced the past 10 years and more recently with Trump plays into the way the Bible plays out. It gets depressing after there, so I'll stop.
Well, I certainly hear you. Well, I mean, what I'm going to do is I was listening to the video that you were sharing, he was saying, sorry about that, they're going to be, they're going to influence our feelings all day tomorrow. Like you're going to be like, who knows, you're going to be up and down all day long.
Yes. I have a handful of channels that I keep an eye on. And I will email you with links to those channels. Some of them are Army vets who are still in the loop, who have a lot of knowledge and experience at higher levels of DOD and like National Security Agency or DIA, and they have their own, without giving out anything confidential, they're expressing their opinions of how they think things are going to play out, and they are very upbeat as to what is playing out right now, despite what we're being propagandized with.
Well, I really appreciate it. That would be fantastic. And actually, I'm going to tell you, I have a friend. I was wondering if you were, it would be nice if I could connect with some actual preppers, because I want on Patreon, I'm thinking I'm going to be able to say a little bit more there, but I would like to do a preppers do a preppers series, and maybe do some installments as I get information from sources. But a lot of people, like you guys mentioned the word conspiracy, the term conspiracy theory, but to me, what do you do when the conspiracy becomes true? Is it a conspiracy fact, or what happens? Are people just afraid of the truth, or does it have the ring of truth to it? What is it that do you see what I mean? Is it something about a conspiracy that
Well,
scares people, or they just kind of go into their little cave and shut
well,
down? Or
we've been trained to think that way. If you've run across it, the term conspiracy was created by the FBI, and there's a memorandum that's you can find on the internet where, in order to dispel theories about the JFK assassination, the FBI termed those people conspiracy theorists, and all they've done is dredged it back up and applied it to us. We move through life in the world, and we observe things, and sometimes the things we see, we read, we hear don't add up, so we just dig a little deeper trying to find out what the truth is. That's not being a conspiracy theorist, it's being a critical thinker.
yes, I think I certainly can see that. I think we're I don't know, conspiracy analysis. Can I say?
Yes. I'm sure you've heard about the testing they did on blacks decades and decades ago with syphilis.
Yes, the Tuskegee project, or they call it Negro Project, or the Tuskegee Project, something in that realm.
Now, that has been proven to be fact, and in the past year, we've gotten, like certain evidence, possible facts have been presented to us concerning this pandemic we're in now. The origins, the conspiracy surrounding why they would do something like that, leading up to numerous states deciding to do something that has never been done before, which is a plain mail-in ballot, as opposed to an absentee ballot. I just followed the information. I can't prove it, but I think a lot of people on the other side cannot disprove it either. So
Yes, that is to me the most the most eminent thing is that you can't disprove what I'm saying, and but but honestly, I think a lot of people that if they're listening to one source, and then it's like you'll know just about every thing that they've heard, but they might have heard that. Well, I haven't heard that, and they don't really question that. They don't. I don't know. Is it an elite? It's almost like I'm not. I might be quote college educated, but it doesn't mean that I personally assume that I can learn something from everyone. I believe that. Not only do I assume that, but I take that, you know, I live, you know, I work with that. I'm a living, you know, I live with that. I working knowledge of that. I mean, everybody in my family didn't have a college degree, but but that doesn't mean I couldn't learn anything, that I couldn't glean anything from those relationships or those engagements.
Well, I mean, bare bones, what your college education proves is that you can dedicate yourself to a course of study for 4 years, 2 years, if you go on 6 years, and that over the course of time you will accomplish your goal. And that's what makes a college degree valuable. It's not necessarily what they teach you, because in whatever field you decide to study in, you're expected to continue learning about that field if that's what you're going into. And so it just gives you the bare bones, well, more than bare bones, as to what you need to get into an industry or a field of business. You know, that's what you accomplished, is going through a course of study and dedicating yourself to it. But applying it to the real world is easy. You know, it's whatever you focus your mind on.
It's so funny. It's funny the way that it just seems that we have a populace or a group of people amongst the populace that they don't accept any information unless it comes from an elite or dare I say the masses, or one of the major 6 or 7 networks, or if it doesn't, or if you know if it's not co-signed by one of those, I call them auxiliaries, or one of the elite, you know, they just don't. And I try not to, yeah, even I try not to even parrot so much of the, like, I'm not one of these people that's walking around and saying, oh, well, I got to save the world. And do you know that there's a part of the world that doesn't have internet? Or do you know that there's not, I just think it's boardroom. It's almost, it's a dynasty that I'm not a part of. And it doesn't, you know, it might make you, I think people want to feel closer. They want to have some kind of camaraderie or feel closer to these elite or to the powers that be, because they know they'll never, you know, they're not there, but they just think if they parrot the talking points, or if they take on these feel good projects, or they, you know, they toe that line, that somehow there is, you know, that they have it, that they, I trust this person. Oh, I trust that. I trust Dr. Doolittle, you know.
You know, what you're describing is what we've seen for the past 4 years on the left. It's like they have some kind of mind meld going on amongst them where they actually believe what they're saying. Whereas on the right, I mean, the right is like trying to herd cats. You know, we're so independent. We have to have like major things happening to come together and agree what's going on. So I have more faith in our side than their side. They just parrot everything they say.
You're right. I mean, yeah, I mean, and I've learned, and I mean, that's just something that I've learned. I mean, I think we've lived through a lot of things, you know, some people work through things and some people just live through things. And I think that I have, I lived through a whole lot before I started working. And the more I work, I realize the more work I have to do, just to stay sane.
It's never ending. Now, speaking of your prepper or survivalist ambitions, I've been living off grid on solar for the past 10 years.
20? How can you afford it?
This sounds like a conversation.
Yeah, that's another conversation. I used to live in Palmdale, man. I've seen the cats off grid. They call that area white fence in Palmdale, where these people are off grid. They're like, you know, weirdos to me, but they got it right in some regards.
Well-
just notice that.
Well, being on solar, you're essentially like paying for your electricity up front, and you're paying a higher price because it's not as cheap as.
Yeah, but what they're doing now, like you've been doing it for 20 years, what they're doing now is, I mean, the deal that they're giving you was pretty bogus.
Oh yeah.
Well, I don't know if you live in California, but man, we got plenty of sunshine, my friend.
I'm at a ranch. I have a ranch out in Arizona, northwest.
Oh,
of
I keep
Phoenix.
forgetting. I keep forgetting that. But yeah, absolutely, man. A ranch is like almost like a fantasy for me, bro.
Well, they call it a ranch, but it's actually 5 acres that originally was part of a mining. And it's completely surrounded by state land, so I'll never have neighbors.
But you can do what you want.
Yeah, well, my viewpoint is that I own everything around me.
Yes. Let me tell you something, man. Capitalism is an attack on crony capitalism is an attack on ownership.
Yes.
So, yeah, I would love to pick your mind how you achieved that, man.
It was a long road, but it was worth it.
Yeah. That's good talk though. Hey, shout out to Definition of Anarchy, who just delivered a baby last week. Pop in the chat like what it do. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm like, bro,
Hi,
he's like
Definition.
pertinent information. Pertinent. How did he do it? You know, he explained everything, but I just want to give him a salute because he gets it done. Hey, AZ, that's the guy with the backpack.
No.
Yeah, it's him.
No,
He's
this
in the
is
chat.
no.
Oh,
AZ is on here with us. The Definition is the back is
Yeah,
the
yeah.
bucking.
But I just seen. Yeah, he's in the chat. I'm telling AZ, that's the guy you were talking about.
Oh, okay.
You know, I was just telling Autumn, your live feed came up in my subscriber stream for some strange reason, and so I clicked on it and came in.
I found Autumn.
Well,
through,
it's bizarre. It's bizarre. It's
I have a
I'm
feeling that since
I'm gonna tell you how that happens. I'm gonna tell you how that happens, right? You may or may not believe me. I'm gonna tell you how that happens. You ready, Autumn? You ready, AZ? You ready, chat?
I'm ready.
Someone is listening to every phone call, everything you say, every time you pick up the phone, every chat, every time, you know what I'm saying? And then they put it in the computer.
Yeah.
If that, and just start sending you advertisements. All right. Cut it. It's what you think is your speculation is correct.
I think Autumn had something to do with it.
Yeah.
Subscribe to her. I think they're recommending. I think I forget how I came across Felicia's channel.
I found
it might have been the same way.
I think I found it through Afros Energy News. That's how I found Lockhart, and then or maybe through Derek C. Williams. But yeah, Lockhart, Spring, you got it right. You got it right. Your station has a wide spectrum of people who are willing to listen. I mean, because your approach is so. I mean, it's like I don't watch the news. Unless I watch the news, I got to be like really drunk or something. I mean, it's not my regular. I get my sports, whatever whatever I want to get it off the internet, right? I don't need the day-to-day news because it's like you said, it's a psyop.
Yes.
That's the original psyop.
Yes. It kind of makes me want to giggle thinking that the artificial intelligence is perhaps connecting us together without knowing it.
You ever see the AI? Hey, you ever see the movie?
Nice.
You ever see the movie Ex Machina?
Yes.
Well, here it is. I'm going to read just a couple of comments here. And a warm hello and a congratulations to the Definition of Anarchy. Thank you so much. It's nice to see you here. And I just want to say shout out to you because I really enjoyed your live earlier. I always enjoy them. It's always nice to see what you're up to. But just a quick comment here from R. Jones. He says, as a psych nurse, I just realized recently that the left and the right have different brain chemistry, which can change with diet, exercise, and salvation. Does anyone know many Christians on the left?
Yes,
And
I do. Yes, I do. My whole
and
family, my whole family laughed at me and voted who the hell they wanted to vote for. They didn't care what I had to say. Directly, directly from what came out of Trump's mouth. Because as I said, you gotta look on certain days. Look when Trump is talking trash. It's when it's it's a game to this, and he has to play like everybody else. But look at what he does, not what he said. Absolutely. I mean, he's playing a game, and people that have game understand that. That makes sense. That makes sense. So,
Well,
Well, I think we can all agree. I think we can all agree, that there's something back there, whether we like it or not.
The CCP is flicking and
Definitely
tripping. I
watching what
don't
he
want Biden
does.
I marvel at
It's
how
bizarre.
I marvel at how Trump trolls everybody.
Yeah, the kids hate Trump though, and the Navy too. I guess I would imagine by what what I'm saying.
Yeah,
the kids hate Trump, but
see, I can agree that.
AZ, how about this? AZ, how about this? I would say Black Spring is the exception to this, but most young people are taught to be leftist, and as they get older and mature, life kick them in the ass. They become more,
that's true. I started off as a Marxist when I was a teenager. In 7th grade, one of my teachers, who also happened to have a beard that looked like Che or Lenin.
Che Guevara.
he actually gave me the little red book, the Communist Manifesto, when I was in 7th grade. Like any comic book, I thought it was great. And I kind of shied away from it as I got older, but it was when I had my son that I realized what was important in the world.
But that's a great time to get that information. Just trying to do you a favor.
Well, there's some university professor who famously said that, and I don't remember the guy's name, or I think it was back in the 60s. He said something like, if you aren't a communist by the time you're 19, you have no heart, and if you're still a communist by the time you're 30, you have no brain.
Well, if you're under 17 in the United States, you're under communism because your parents is a Tsar. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, so then you get out and become a socialist, and then you end up a conservative like Autumn. Autumn has an old soul.
Well, I've heard that. I used to hear that growing up, and
Yeah, but have you paid the price for going against the grain yet?
I'm sure I have. I mean, I paid it so long ago. I didn't even. It
Let me
wasn't
tell you
even a
something.
price. It didn't feel like a price. It just felt like business as usual. To me,
okay.
I don't know anything else.
AZ got the Communist Manifesto when he was in the 7th grade. I mean, I grew up in LA. Kids just were not talking like that. I don't know what the Communist Manifesto was until I went to the library and looked it up on my own. You know what I'm saying? It's so he is in a different time from me, and you are a different time from us. But you got it right.
Yeah,
you got it right. And I'm not gonna, you could completely change your whole attitude tomorrow, and I would still roll with you because your intentions, everything. Like it's not. I just want to encourage you because kids just don't talk like this. Not since the 60s, maybe.
Well, the thing about it is, I say this with all sincerity. I am, and this is all I'm a collection of experiences, and I don't, and I think that I could have, what do you want to say, fallen off they used to say, fall off the turnip truck or whatever. I could have done that.
You could have folded, but you made a decision.
Yeah, but it just wasn't, it was not enticing. It wasn't something that I was, it would have been a stretch. It would have been, I'm not, it's not that I ever was really a fit in or a follower, so to speak,
Yeah,
or,
that's why
I'm not a
you have.
sorority personality. I'm not oh, brand me this so I can be closer to this. That's just not who I am naturally. I'm
You're
not.
someone that knows your self-worth.
And you're not frivolous.
Yeah, you're not frivolous. You're not. Yeah, you're pretty solid. I'm more frivolous than you. That's a shame. That's a shame, Autumn. Dang. Wow. But yeah, I'm
Hey, you
enjoying
just
the
outed
frivolous.
yourself.
Well, I appreciate, I think this is, I think I have I think the chat, I always have, contributors in the chat that are just, stimulating, and they're all everybody comes from a very different background, and it's
Spectrum.
all,
Yeah,
at the
yeah.
end of
It's
the day, we all end up in a better place than we were than we started.
Oh,
We're not any worse off, but that's the thing. People don't like to talk. I don't think people like to have actual discourse or actual conversations anymore. Everybody wants to yell and scream and live in the abstract, and then they wake up, or turn their screen black and realize tomorrow the world didn't change.
yeah, but I was doing all that when I was your age. You know what I'm saying? So when I watch this, like a breath of fresh air, like it's a spring, autumn, fresh air. Like
Autumn,
at your
one of
age,
the
talking like that, yeah, you're something in your life was not interrupted, or you was free to your opinion, or your experience, all that. Is you're still on your journey, and it caught my attention. It's above average.
yes.
Yeah.
Well, what I'm
Yeah.
hoping to see shortly down the road, everyone in chat come up on live stream.
Yeah.
And
You know what?
it
The
will,
most
It's only five.
I have
it will
never
have,
had more than three people on chat at one time, and that's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying that's the goal here, that quantity over stimulation is what we're going for, but the engagement is great. I like to have, you guys have great conversations amongst yourselves, and you also have, you're stimulating all the time, so I appreciate you guys taking the
Yeah,
time to come up.
you guys are high info, and I like to test my kung fu. Because AZ
So
is AZ. If you talk to him in the chat, it's not like talking to him in person.
no, I agree.
sometimes I can chat, and sometimes I'm not able to.
Well, here's the other thing. Like
Yeah,
I
but
think that it would be nice if we could do I don't know. I mean, I would like to do a prepper series that I'm not necessarily contributing to the prepper series. I'd like to host others that would
Yeah.
like to contribute. I mean, Old School Wolf has,
Yeah.
he does that kind of a thing, and he's good at it, but I'm thinking there's other types of prep that I would like to, that I'd like to bring to the channel.
yeah, I like that every now and then you bring the regular guy story.
Yeah, like just bring, like, whether it's, I don't know, whether it's, if it's not food, then maybe, and if we've done something on weapons before, but then there's also there's other devices. When you don't have those conveniences, when everything is disrupted, then what do you do? You know what I mean? What do you do?
Or even like more like preparatory or protocol videos.
Something like that. It's emergency. We're talking emergencies. Is what emergency kind of thing, emergency prep.
Yeah.
And I'm talking like beyond the candles. The
Well,
scented candles.
I'm a vet, and I lived for some time off a power generator, longer than the most average person. And the power generator was just for lights. That's it.
Yes.
Yeah. So I mean, certain things happen. I'm like, oh, I have to respect the fact that my opinion is maybe a little bit different from someone else's. I see Snap walking them hills. I'm like, when I see,
that's pretty rough.
No. I'm like, yeah, I can do it, but hopefully I don't have to ever do that again. I'll do it though. You're talking this vaccine talk, but I'm just joking.
The mocktail.
But yeah,
Now
but
I'm
I'm like,
turning into the AI police.
yeah,
AR
yeah,
narc.
yeah. I like poking fun at him. I like poking fun at Anarchy. He know the army talk.
Yeah, but I put his book into the chat, and that's the definition
Yeah.
of anarchy. If you're still here,
Hmm.
definition, wave your
Yeah.
hand or give,
I,
he's been here, so he's given
yeah.
us a sign already. But I appreciate him for coming in for
The
sure.
only reason, yeah, the only reason I haven't read it because I've read a couple of other books on the subject, but he's spot on.
Yes.
That's what I mean. You have to go for yours. He's going for his, and you have to go for yours.
Well,
So you're outstanding, Joe.
as Autumn gets comfortable doing this, she will
Yeah.
figure out her own format.
Yep. Yep.
Perhaps something like at the start, whatever you want to bring up, videos, articles, and then open it up.
Yeah, just keep it intelligent. People come in. As you get bigger, people come in and say stupid stuff. Ooh, I'm such a good
Oh
pro.
yeah,
I'm such
that
a good pro.
that doesn't really, I'm not really trolls, and I don't really care about
Yeah.
them. I just
Yeah,
want to be
yeah. You have to
allowed
keep, yeah, yeah.
to do what I'm doing.
Yeah,
And if they
yeah,
never, I don't care about the partnerships and the affiliations and the it was never about that. It was always about a message. And in my background, I mean, I have an educator's background, so it doesn't, I don't go into full on teacher mode. My default setting, I could do that. And that's why I think that's kind of why I have a little bit of a lower tolerance for, foolish or shenanigans in the chat. And I try to put that, go to the community tab if you're new here, because, we'll just
you like
lock and
AZ,
load here.
AZ, you remember Tony Dungy?
Pardon me?
Tony Dungy.
I'm not familiar with.
He was the coach of the Indianapolis Colts. He coached Tampa Bay to a victory. I think he's on NBC right now. He's a commentator.
Can I be honest with you?
Mm-hmm.
I threw out pop culture a couple decades ago, and I threw out my TV 20 years ago.
Okay. Oh yeah, I know people like that.
So
I'm a DJ. I'm a DJ, so I just cannot throw everything out. I'm a
okay.
Nice.
Okay, but no, I know people like that. I don't actually know DJs who have so much dust on their TV. It's embarrassing. Like I just do it to see how much dust I can collect on it.
Okay, it looks like I have somebody else. That
I just found out last year that I'm a boomer. Actually, I found it in Discord that I'm a boomer, and so I had a lot of interactions with millennials to find out what the problem is.
Yeah, but if you're a boomer, you have a surprise hate group.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, what did I do?
I had to school them that they're actually standing on my shoulders, calling me a boomer.
Yeah, they should be thanking you. Help me across the street. Yeah. Help me across the street, damn it.
Yeah, you're on a cell phone, right? Where do you think that came from?
Yeah. I remember the brick phone, son. You better show some respect.
Yeah, respect. Damn brick phones.
Oh my goodness. I never had a brick phone.
All right, guys. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to I'm probably going to wrap us up in about 10 minutes or so. So if you guys have any final if any of your final summations on what we looked at today, whether you want to go into the whole the Biden rhetoric or the Biden distancing himself from the defund the police as the Senate races come into play, or even the mocktail, that's totally good.
I'm confident in how things are going to play out. All the Biden press conferences, I watched them, and I don't even think they believe themselves. They're so low energy.
Woo. Woo.
But time will tell.
Right.
As a whole to AZ's commentary, my gut feeling is to sit on your hands on the next PSYOP.
Yes.
That's my gut feeling. That's just what outstanding commentary, my friend.
Oh, the psyops have been coming fast and furious.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Some are small. Yeah, I mean it's jabs, uppercuts. You know what I mean? And it's
Yep.
like yeah, his
Yep.
TV's off. And he can't avoid it.
That's why I thought that video was good for tomorrow, because tomorrow's going to be a big mainstream media day. They're going to hammer us. They're going to hammer us that it's time to surrender.
I don't have an analogy that's I can say on live. I don't have. Oh man, I don't know how you
Well,
got me like.
we'll take and us underground media people will take the scraps. We're available.
Come on, the first lady took the vaccine, fell out. She wasn't dancing around happy or nothing. There was nothing appealing or nothing. It was terrible. Then there's no good. There's no good. Hey man, I think this man. I started levitating, man. None of that. There's nothing good about it they can say, and maybe they're in a little bit more deeper trouble than they're admitting to us, because even the mask thing. I mean,
possibly.
Yeah, I don't
Well,
know. I'm in LA. AZ. No one's gonna run up. See, no one's gonna run up over in Arizona. Or no one's gonna run up over you over a mask. But here, someone can run up on you. I don't think that is right that you're not wearing them. You know what I mean? It's.
Well, I have masks.
Yeah,
I mean, when I go into the store in town, I wear a mask.
Yeah, but in LA, oh my goodness, it's a whole nother.
I sort of understand that. I drove a truck out between LA and Phoenix and Las Vegas for 15 years.
Oh, you can stop there. Okay.
It's a different mindset in LA.
Yeah. You get the AZ like, oh man, there's certain freedoms I have here that I don't have if I'm in Nevada or if I'm in,
Yeah.
The whole country's burning up. AZ's fine. Everybody open carry.
Yeah, it's part of the culture here. And
Yeah.
it was out in California until they started cracking down in the 90s.
Yeah. But
like weird looking paddles on your firearm to keep you from gripping it too tightly.
Yeah, but California happens in LA. What happens in California, different regions, it's a microcosm what they're going to try to pull on the world.
Yes.
Even down to the Bloods and Crips, it's all ready. Soon as the Black Panther Party ended, soon as all the COINTELPRO. Are you hip to COINTELPRO? I'm sure you are. You're high information.
Yes.
FBI, yeah. So anybody. I don't care if you're white, black, green. If you get enough power and influence to change what they got going, they're going to deal with you. Trump is able to get away with that because of his father.
Yes. And I mean, just for us, there's things that you can even do on YouTube by just putting out what you've discovered to be as close to true as possible. You might want to put a disclaimer in there, but it's about spreading the word.
Oh, you always got to put that disclaimer,
Well,
just so
unless you know for a fact what you're saying is true, because you don't want to mislead anyone.
No, but I mean, it's sometimes you get to a case of what I knew now as opposed to what I knew then.
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, you have to be careful, but can you still, be wrong? Yes. So I try to give people a margin of error.
Yes.
Make a mistake, I'm not gonna, I made mistakes too.
It's like you'll run across something like in the recent election. What was brought up was a guy named Dennis Montgomery. He worked for the federal government back in the early 2000s, and he was tasked with building some type of supercomputer system that would gather intelligence, and it was for one of the intelligence agencies. And I learned about it back in 2013, back when Arpaio was muddling about with Obama's birth certificate.
Mm.
Dennis Montgomery went to Joe Arpaio with, I thought it was 8 hard drives. And what he had done is he found out that the FBI and the FBI and the CIA, if I remember
Mhm.
right,
Mhm.
got a hold of this system that he had built for another purpose, and they started surveilling Americans.
Mm.
And so he went to Joe Arpaio with like 8 hard drives that had like 60 or 90 million Americans in there with all their personal information down to things like bank accounts and passwords and stuff, phone numbers. And he allowed Sheriff Joe's posse to go through it to substantiate what he was claiming was being done under the radar on the federal
Mhm.
level. And that story got buried, but it got brought up again when the ballot fraud first started coming out. He was mentioned by Sidney Powell, of all
Mhm.
people.
Yeah, I seen what
And
came out with Giuliani. I seen that.
yes, and so that possibly is the system that the software called Scorecard was running on.
I'm such a conspiracy theorist. When I hear that, something like that, you may say, "Oh my goodness, this is terrible." I'm like, "Man, I've been doing this for 30 years."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there's
After I read the
there's
Picture
a
of Jekyll Island, it goes, and I don't go back in the loop, but the moves are being made, and we are just digits. We have to get bird's eye view and figure out how we're not going to be fooled.
yeah, but we're only getting that information through little bits and pieces that we have to chase down the rest of it in order to learn a bigger part of it.
Okay. That being said, we have to chase the right.
Yeah.
Yep. You know
I
what I
stay
mean,
away
right?
from I stay away from aliens and near-death experiences.
Yep. Yeah.
I mean, there's too much other
hey,
real-world
not
stuff
that it
going on.
couldn't, not that it couldn't happen. I just don't have time for that.
Yeah.
Yeah. You trust out of survival mode. We all know what's chasing us, man. This is crazy, man. We just have this strange pressures, but oh man, only spring could bring it together a spectrum like a Chrysler, and then I see,
Yes.
it's something like you're my news filter.
Well,
If she's
I have
not
my
ranting,
news
I'm not
filters too.
freaking out. Yeah, but if she's ranting, I'm like, oh my goodness, what's going on?
Well, once again, I really appreciate you guys, and I'm going to give a word of thanks to the sponsors really quick, and I'll be right back.
Yeah, I think we're up to the limit here.
Oh yeah,
We're up
great
against the wall.
show. Hey, I'm gonna jump off, man. I salute, man. Great conversation. I enjoy having a chance to talk to you.
Excellent.
Thanks so
conversation.
much. Thanks so much, and we'll be right back.
Okay, you both have a
This show is brought to you in part by our sponsors. Whether you're interested in health, culture, politics, scripture, automobiles, entertainment, history, and much, much more, there's something for everyone. So please check out Derek C. Williams, Killer Whale Channels, The Definition of Anarchy, Joseph Francis Burton, Chrysler Imperial H, Little Miss Goth, AZ Infidel, Cold War Jesus, Anthony Scioli, and Let the Truth Be Told. We'll be right back to the news right after this. All right, guys. It looks like I had someone out in the. Oh, I. You know what? I didn't mean to. You guys can pop back in here just for a second here. I mean, you can go ahead and I'm sorry about that. Let me put the link back out there. The commercial interrupted. So, all right. So here you go. Is that paralysis by analysis? Are you still out there? You were in queue and I hit the button. So yeah, okay, here we go. Paralysis by analysis. Are you still out? Hi, paralysis by analysis. How are you?
Oh, holy cow. Is the sound is kind of coming through choppy on your end. Is it sounding bad on my end?
It's very clear on your end. It's very clear over here.
Oh, it's clear. It's clear on your end.
Yes, absolutely.
All right. Well, all right. I'll just keep going. I don't know. As far as everything that's going on, guys, I don't know. It's kind of getting to the point where I do sort of wonder whether or not we should even be paying attention anymore to the politics. It seems like the left-right thing is just sort of silly. I actually wrote in the chat earlier on. It seems like both the left and right, the Trump supporters, the Biden supporters, whomever, like they're under Stockholm syndrome. It's like the worse they're treated, the more they seem to support the people. It's ridiculous.
Yes, I can certainly see that. And that's the thing I wanted to kind of shift this platform a little bit less. I mean, at one point I was just doing things that were I was more focused on things that were not so, I don't want to say mainstream,
Yeah.
but the political left right, as the definition of anarchy would say, the left right paradigm lie. It's exhausting.
Yeah.
I can't take it.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I agree. I'm getting to the point where, as much as I like people like, Felicia, she watches, Roy Potter and stuff. And even though I don't agree with, he still has a lot of Mormon leanings as far as putting a little bit too much stock in the flesh, and even talks about the polygamy and stuff like that. Aside from that, I like a lot of what he says, but I think I got to disagree with the prep, pray, and stay out of the way. I used to say that quite a bit. I used to think, yeah, there's a lot of truth to that. But I mean, there's got to be something that we can do. I respect individuals like Anomaly who said, hey, go out there and vote at least. Yeah, I mean, at least it's something proactive. I put in the chat, obviously, what I believe is what George Carlin said, where, if voting mattered, then, they would have made it illegal. So I don't think voting means anything, but I respect the people that are at least trying to do something. Because I've fallen into that category recently of just the big, and I don't want to say anarchists, but just these big naysayers where you're just like, oh, whatever, just do. There's nothing that can be done. There's got to be something that can be done. I mean, what are you thinking?
Oh boy. Okay, sorry, I was on mute there. I'm just thinking, it just seems like we're there. I don't want to say it, draw it down to, oh, we're all living a lie. We've been, we're living a lie. Like, how can all of this be? How can it be what we were told? How can all of these things that we've been told and, not be, how can things be this bad if everything was on the level? Or if, how can things be this, how can we have this much corruption? And yet we judge other third world nations for their corruption and their, I don't see it's crushing. It's like, or is it better that we remain under the lie? And I mean, what do they want us to do we're human beings, we do have feelings, but we have logic. But then when we put them together, or when they're not just quite when it's not all hanging in there together, it just, it's just to be it's a nasty thing that people just want to shut down. You head down, eyes up, what's happening? I have a friend who he says that all the time. He says, head down, eyes up. I just want to be left alone. We just want to be left alone. Leave us alone.
Yeah. But I mean, it's like the old proverbial thing is the moment the sharks smell blood in the water, like that's really when they end up coming after you. And if you end up, especially if we separate ourselves, which a lot of us kind of are, once again, I'm guilty of it too, where I'm just like, I just want to be left alone. I really, And that's the other problem too, is this environment is making us so paranoid, which what's the old saying about just because you're paranoid doesn't mean they're not out to get you, you know? So we've gotten so paranoid to the point where even these communities, you know, the truther communities, websites, and so on and so forth, we react to each other with so much skepticism. Like, you can just tell as soon as you enter like a new chat room, man, nobody talks to you for a while, especially if it is a truther. Like, you're like, hey, I like this chat room, but nobody will talk to you. And, you know, it's understandable why, because it's just like, well, is this person a bot, or is this person full of crap? Or, you know,
Yes.
I mean, it's like, who was the CIA guy back in, I think, the 70s or the 80s, where the quote was leaked. William Casey, right? Where the quote was leaked, that the moment that everybody distrusts every single source of media, the moment people feel that way, we've done our job. And they've accomplished it, haven't they? We've gotten to the point where, you know, it's reasonable. It is actually reasonable to just question everything and everybody as much as you want to. You know, it is actually reasonable, sadly, nowadays. That's actually the right thing to do, to sit there and go, hey, this person seems pretty relevant, but I can't trust them 100%, because we've been duped so many times, especially in the last few years.
Yes. But I'll remind you that I believe it was William Casey that suffered a very bizarre accident that took his life.
Was he quote unquote taken out to lunch?
I think he had like a canoeing accident.
Oh. It's
Yeah.
like Godfather style then.
Yeah, there's a whole story about Casey. You know, and it's another theory, but it has a lot of credence to it.
What do you think about this is kind of jumping all over the place, but big people who were offed. What do you think about Patton, that he was maybe trying to do the right thing, that he was not really and truly an insider, that he was trying to do the right thing, especially with the German soldiers and stuff? Because remember, he was trying to release them. He wasn't trying to keep them in all the prison camps and stuff like that. And he was actually trying to fight the Russian communists. And then he got in that little quote unquote accident. Yes. Like, what do you think about that?
Well, I read my first book about Patton maybe 30 years ago.
Yeah.
And it was a fascinating story about him. It wasn't quite a biography, but in the final chapter, it got into what the author believed was what really happened to him.
Yeah.
And it blew me away. I'd never heard that before.
What did he say?
He was in the back of a car being driven somewhere, and they shot him with a .45 right in the head.
So, so he's basically saying that the car accident was just altogether, that story was fabricated. It wasn't even that it was a car accident that was made to happen. It was like, yeah, no car accident even happened.
Yeah, they took him out. Once they defeated the Germans, he wanted the U.S. to continue on to take out the Soviets.
Right. His quote was, "We fought the wrong people." Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yes.
You know, it's funny. I use that quote. I think out of context at times, but I still think I say that today. I think I say I apply that to enemies, foreign and domestic, and I apply it to domestic. So I don't know. I maybe I'm using it the wrong way, but
well, but no. I agree with that entirely too. You know, it's just like who was that guy? He's become a big deal lately, but I used to be watching him a while. It was the one that Griffin interviewed a long time ago, and he was the former KGB agent. And
I just listened to that again last night.
Yeah, and he was talking about subversion was the main goal. That all this bond, you know, whatever was really nonsense in terms of what what happened with espionage. That the main thing was coming over and subverting the culture. And You're just like, yeah, that's absolutely what happened. Look at this. I go back and I watch all these films from the 60s, which I used to be obsessed with going back and watching a lot of old movies, but really loving the 60s films. And I was like, oh my God, these movies really and truly did subvert things. I mean, late 50s, but definitely through the 60s, how effective. That's the one reason why I can't get real mad at the baby boomer culture about, you know, all the things that, you know, people will go, oh, you got duped on all these things. Dude,
No.
baby boomer like had the best propaganda, and they were immersed in it. Like there was pretty much nobody else speaking up against it. Movies and media, and just there was pretty much no alternative viewpoint.
You know, let me give you a current example that stretches all the way back.
Sure.
And Autumn might be aware of this since she's aware of the JBS. We were helping after World War II. We were helping China because they were in disarray. They already had communists that had very well infiltrated into China and were trying to take over. Officially, we backed Shanghai Shek. But there were things that were done even back in the late 40s and through the 50s. And one example is through our State Department. The administration at the time authorized the transfer of, I believe it was Springfield rifles, to Shanghai Shek's forces. Now, and I don't know the number, but it was probably, you know, hundreds of thousands of them, so they could fight the communists. But somewhere along the way, the State Department meddled with it, and all those Springfield rifles arrived with no firing pins. So there were even factions within our own government that were at odds with each other. You jump to the early 1970s, and Richard Nixon, along with Henry Kissinger, opened up China. They were the first ones to visit there in several decades. But as history has shown us, since the 70s onwards, we helped convert a largely agrarian communist society into the modern powerhouse it is today by decisions that our politicians made that did not benefit us. Now, looking back at it, those decisions set us up to be overthrown.
Yeah. And destroy our industry too. Send all of our industry over there.
Yeah. Well, what they did is they raised the capital gains taxes here, and helped. Well, by doing that, they helped industry move to China. Aside with other like trade deals we made that encouraged our industries to move over there.
Yeah.
So I tend to have a darker view of it, that it was all intentional, that their plan from way back was to take us down. Bush,
Yes.
Papa Bush came out with his New World Order speech.
And people
And
don't
I
believe that he ever said. People are like, they don't like what's wrong with him? What's wrong with Daddy Bush? It's like, oh my God, I can't today.
Well, I mean, so they don't know about what he did when he was in charge of the CIA with the whole cocaine drug run.
Yes.
They don't know about that.
Tell them about the cocaine, Ollie. Remember that?
No, I'm not. I mean, that's something that I'm not even aware of.
Yeah,
but these are people that are older than me. These are people that are. I guess these are baby boomers themselves. I'm like, wait a minute, where were you? Like, what was going on? What was going on? How did this? This is one of my ex-college professors. I'm like, my gosh, what happened to you? You know, I told him to his face. I said, you're an elite. You think you're an elite, and that's
well, but I mean, you come from and I came across the same thing. You know, are you talking about a music professor?
Yes, very much. All of my music. What is going
They're
on?
all communists. I know.
Did you
Oh, he
pass
told me.
those
He was like,
classes?
"Oh, I love." He was like, "Oh, I love." He was like, "Oh, I love communism." I'm like, I'm like, okay, you know what? When I was 18, that might have worked, but
Yeah.
right now, you sound like you're full of it.
But
You're
that was
full
the
of
thing
it.
is if you let them the professors know that you were the least bit right leaning, which mind you, I was, you know, because I was in college during the years of, you know, W, right, later part of his term. So like, you know, right near the end is whenever I was there, and so at the time, yeah, it was not good to call yourself a Republican by any means. He had tarnished the name very badly. So I wasn't sitting there harping about, oh, I support Bush, because I didn't. I was, you know, but at the same time, though, I was still not a Democrat. And so if you even hinted that you were the least bit right leaning to professors in a music conservatory, oh, you were blackballed. And so I had to very much hush up about it. I mean, it was a creepy, culty kind of atmosphere in every single way. And I admit I was guilty of just kind of trying to get along. I didn't totally, you know, bend over backwards and act like I was some kind of liberal, but I definitely kept hush hush, which in retrospect I was just like, wow,
Wow.
that was pretty spineless, because I was just a musician. I was like, whatever, I don't care about any of this stuff. I don't care. I just didn't say anything. I didn't do anything. I was just like, whatever, I'm just into the music. And I always just tried to change the subject matter into, because I didn't care about politics. I want you to even think about, even at that time,
What years?
you had people like, as much as people want to, you know, crack on Alex Jones. I mean, to be honest with you, about that time, he was basically one of the only people you could get hold of for any kind of truth. He was at least tolerable back then. He only got really obnoxious and very shilly around about like 2014, like right before the Trump era. Like when the Trump election came about, that's when he really started getting obnoxious and fake. But before that, he was putting out some pretty interesting stuff. But anyway, like even then, I mean, I didn't know how to come across Bill Cooper. Think about it. He didn't really make his big resurgence, Bill Cooper, because you know he was off the radio by then. He didn't make his big resurgence on YouTube and stuff until like maybe 2011. That's about the time I started seeing him blowing up again.
Wow. Well, I've go ahead, AZ. I was going to talk about the shill factor, the forecast. Shilly.
I came across Bill Cooper. I took up shortwave decades ago, and I came across Bill Cooper probably in the mid '90s, and it was amazing when I first came across his broadcast. And there were shortwave networks, you know, that would transmit on certain frequencies 24 hours a day. So that became my internet, along with a lot of people. They also they would broadcast on the big dish satellites back then, so you could pick them up. But I came across Alex Jones when he did his Bohemian Grove video, and I've been listening to him ever since.
All right.
I understand his personality. I still listen to him every day, although usually his first hour is guaranteed to be like the latest of what's going on, and that's how I handle Alex Jones. He spends his time researching, at least on a daily basis, of what the new things are, and so I listen to him to get primed for the rest of the day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think as long as you know how to, I do get tired of people like totally. There's been too many people that have jumped on the bandwagon about Alex Jones, where they are just like, oh, he's a shill, and you're just like, yeah, you have no idea what you're talking about. Like, I came to that conclusion long before it was cool to say he was like a shill, and even then, like, is he still more relevant and credible than most of these people? Like, even the people calling him out, like the Adam Greens and those dudes like that. Yeah, he's still actually credible than those guys. But
he has a following.
No, he's still a brilliant dude. Like, these people, they're like, oh, he's an idiot. I'm like, no, you're stupid. He's not an idiot. Like, he definitely knows what he's talking about. But whether or not he's compromised, Yeah, he definitely appears to be compromised. I will say this: he may have meant well when he jumped on the Trump bandwagon originally. Maybe he did. And the reason why I say that is it was interesting to watch his broadcast when Trump, because this was how all of us were. I didn't vote for Trump. I'm going to go ahead and put this out here. I didn't vote for Trump, but there was a part of me that kind of wondered, it's kind of interesting. I'd like to see what happens. Maybe. Who knows? Maybe he'll turn out to be, whatever. A guy goes against grain. We'll see what happens. And the first year he was in, if you remember, it kind of was encouraging. He really genuinely was making the media angry. It seemed to be genuine. He seemed to be making all the right people mad. It really did seem like real, resistance. And he appeared with Gorsuch at first. Now we know Gorsuch is pretty full of crap, but he appeared to be a pretty conservative nominee for Supreme Court. He seemed like he was moving on the whole wall project. He appeared he was moving on like the things with the illegal immigration. He appeared to be doing all these things, but slowly but surely, all these things he was doing were slowly unfolding into rhetoric, and they never seemed to really come to fruition. I remember one of the very first ones was Schiff, not the senator, but the economist, called him out, Trump, and said, okay, you cut taxes, but you have not cut any spending, and you are causing the bubble to get very unsustainably bad, and this is going to cause a major recession. So that was like one of the very first telltale signs of like something's up. And then after that, then you had the Syria. Remember when he bombed Syria, right? Even though that gas attack was obviously BS. Yes. And I remember Alex Jones freaked out. And he, remember that when he went on, it was like, he was like cursing like a sailor. He genuinely seemed mad. And it almost looked like he realized, oh my God, I've backed the wrong guy. Like he finally dawned, but he had to stick with it. Because obviously people had paid him off to back him. And now he's like, oh my God, I got to commit to this guy, even though I know he's full of crap. Like that's actually kind of how that came off, that whole Syria bombing live stream where he was just freaking out.
See, what I found to be the good thing about Alex Jones is when he screws up, he'll more or less admit it.
Sure.
And it's like I watched the Syria thing unfold. Was it around 2008, 2009?
Oh, and the first kind of stuff. Okay.
Well, I heard the first stories coming out of Syria, and what it actually reminded me of is what we did in Yugoslavia to break it up using snipers. And of all places, it was NPR that I heard this story on, where they're interviewing people, and they're saying, we don't understand what's going on. There's these snipers that are just shooting people randomly. And so I paid attention to it after that because it rung a bell for me. But anyway, I'm sorry, I digress. But when AJ screws up, he usually sort of admits it afterwards. I've heard him do that several times in the past. His problem is that he's got this alpha personality, and he tends to jump on things too quick or say things too fast that he ends up having to backtrack. But I forgive him for that because he stays on top of what's going on.
Well, but at the same time, though, the reason why I don't pay nearly as much attention to him is he does avoid two major factors a lot. He'll address them somewhat every once in a while, just give lip service, but then he just regresses right back into full support. And that's, of course, with Trump. He just idolizes and supports him way too much. And I'm just like, no. Trump has done way too many problematic things, and he hasn't gotten anything done. I want you to think about like all the chants that were done during his rallies. What were they? Build the wall, lock her up. What were they? Like every single one of those chants, he didn't even come close to getting any of them done. Not even close. Actually, the lock her up was pathetic. Remember after his like first day in office, like he did some rally like very shortly after he got into office, and they did that chant again, lock her up, and she goes, no, they're good people. And I was like, whoa. when did they suddenly become good people? When did the Clintons suddenly become good people?
Where did somebody else's the Lockhart perspective said that? I'm like, I'd love to see that.
Yeah, I'll try to find it.
Wait a minute, it was during the rally, wasn't it? Was it during the rally?
It
Did he
was
said
like
that?
it was very shortly after like he got elected. Like, and I remember that was another one of the things I saw, and I went, oh, like I was So that was definitely one of the very first red flags. And at first I was hoping, I was like, well, maybe he's just trying to, what's the term? Well, play possum. Where you like pretend like, you're not going to do anything and then you do something. Right.
Yeah.
I think that's the term. And I was like, well, maybe that's what he's doing. But, I'm not going to be like I don't understand how the Q movement's still around. Like that's such a Q thing where they're like, oh yeah, he's playing 4D chess. And I'm like, more like 4D checkers, man. Like, you can't have respect for Q people because after the Sessions thing, you would have thought it would have died. Remember that? They're like, oh, Sessions, he's gonna blow it up. He's gonna arrest everybody. And then it's like, and now Sessions is stepping down. And then crickets for a little while, and then they start right back up with the Q rhetoric. And I was like, oh my God, y'all are not shamed out of
See, Q did that with everyone in the administration.
Yeah.
One after the other, they were going to save the day.
Yeah.
I was paying it. I wasn't diving into 4chan or whatever, but I was listening to X22 report on a regular basis, just to find out what's going on. But what really cinched it for me was a year ago, last August, when the D-class was supposed to happen, and it didn't happen. I thought, I've been listening to this for long enough. Nothing has come about. I'm done. But my perspective on Trump, I can pull it all the way back to Bush Sr., where we seem to go into tag team administrations. It was either Clinton or Bush that said the other one was a brother from another mother. Their families are well connected. And so the administrations we've been getting for decades have been contrived. Somehow they got elected.
Yeah.
And that extends up through the Obama administration. So
we know about, this is obviously very mainstream, but you guys already know, of course, that they're like all actually interrelated. Like pretty much all the presidents ever are like to some degree related.
Yeah, I think I discovered that recently. At first I didn't. I heard it a few years ago, but then I think I'm starting to see that there is definitely a there's a line there. There's a thread there.
Yes. But see, Trump was the unexpected. And what it has exposed for me over the past 4 years, with my prior background of watching this stuff but not being able to quite put my finger on it, is all the traitors have revealed themselves when Trump was elected. All the ones who are fighting Trump have a stake in having things go a certain direction, which is globalism. But we did not know exactly what their plan was until Trump got elected.
Right.
We had indications that there was some bigger plan going on, which goes, we started with George Bush and his New World Order. And he didn't say it just once. He was talking about the New World Order all the time. I was watching it, and it's like no one ever asked, what the hell is he talking about? No one ever questioned it.
Yeah.
Which amazed me at the time.
Well, I think you're right on.
Go
ahead, I'm sorry.
Half the brain would say, what is this New World Order? And denying the order, they came up with sustainable development. It's a means of control, but they renamed it globalism, and so New World Order thing died out. It just taken a new name, and it was in full swing up until Trump was elected. You know, globalism, the New World Order being nothing more than global communism eventually.
Well, I mean, Trump may have come into office with the best of intentions. That's possible. But here's the reason why I think that Trump was. I mean, there's a lot of other things that people have come up with lately that made it seem like he was always meant to be president. But at very least, just looking at it from a purely goal-oriented perspective, like, why would this make sense? I agree. There was that magazine printout of Madame President, right? It did appear that a lot of the media, mind you, which that doesn't mean that they're the real insiders. It's just the media, you know. But they may have expected Hillary. But the reason why I think that the real powers that be wanted Trump, Hillary, if she'd have gotten in, you got to wonder how much she'd have really gotten done. The Patriot movement was in full swing. The Patriot movement would have been able to have raised the stink about absolutely everything. And at least social media, people still had a voice. And the moment you would have seen any hint of censorship, you would have had all kinds of lawsuits. You would have had all kinds of people going insane. The moment you'd have seen any hint of red flag gun laws, which Trump pushed through, and just a whole lot of stuff, you'd have seen people freaking out. And the moment you'd have seen anything about Syrian attacks, you'd have seen people freaking out. And the moment you'd have seen immigration continuing to get worse, which it did under Trump, you'd have seen people freaking out. All of these things that they were able to accomplish very well under Trump, I'm not so sure they could have gotten it done under Hillary, because Trump pacified the Patriots. So I think that was actually a brilliant move, dude, that they had Trump come in, because that was perfect.
Well, I'm going on the assumption that Hillary was going to be the closer and things would have gotten drastically worse. You know, from what I learned in the 90s, while Bill was flitting around the world on the international scene, it was Hillary that was running the United States domestically.
True.
And that's would have been Hillary's focus, on finishing what had been laid down already. It's like our overthrow, I think, was about 90% complete when Trump became president. And that's why they threw such a fit for the past 4 years. They know they're on their way out. Some of them are going to prison, and some of them might be hung. They're fighting. Also, another thing that I got to track down is that AJ has said on a couple occasions that Trump's father was John Bircher, and that Trump was schooled in all this stuff. Whether it's true or not, I don't know. I got to look into it.
Well, he also went to a Jesuit university, which, you know, if you buy into the who are the people, who are the branches, the bad powers that be, I would actually agree with Bill Cooper. Bill Cooper, in my opinion, broke this down in the 4 segments I agree with the most. And when they say, what is the beast system? Bill Cooper would always say, well, of course, you have the English faction, which is encompassing the, and I know the Illuminati started in Germany, but he said the English faction is the Masons / New Israel / Illuminati. Like, that's the English faction. Yes. You have the French faction, which is the Internationale or the Jacobins, and those guys were primarily Satanists. And then you end up having the Vatican, which is the Jesuits and all this stuff like that. And then if you have the Zionists. And that he was just like, it's so foolish for these people saying it's the JQ. Oh, they're the main problem. I believe they're part of the problem. And that is something that AJ has really hushed up about a lot. And I think that's problematic that he just doesn't talk about that nearly enough. The ACLU is definitely a problem, especially in Congress. But I do get really bored with the people sitting there constantly talking about the JQ, like, oh my God, that's entirely what it is. And you're just like, well, they're part of it. But then the Masons are a part of it. And then once again, the Vatican is definitely a part of it. and then the Satanists are absolutely a part of it. And it's like, I just get so bored with this. I'm like, it's a multi-tiered system. It's a multi-faction system, I mean. And they're all kind of competing for it. So that's the reason why, yes, you had all these people freak out when Trump got in. That doesn't mean Trump is a good guy. It just means that maybe those bad guys who were competing for that top spot were pissed. But it's still evil. I mean, it's still the guy who's winning at the end of the day is still very possibly Lucifer. That's my theory. I don't know. Like I said, Trump really may have meant well. I don't know. I'm just saying that's kind of the vibe I get.
Well, there's
I've
just
got
one thing I
another.
wanted to add. Go ahead, AZ.
No, you first, Adam. You've been
Well,
patiently sitting there.
I
Yeah,
just
we've
wanted.
been talking. Sorry about that.
Well, no problem. You guys are bringing up. You guys are expounding on many things that I've been that I've been into or interested in, but when you guys talked about the NWO and people kind of dismissing that, I think people are still laughing about that as if it's a conspiracy theory. But and you guys, one of you made a comment about no one bothered to ask what did George W. Bush mean by that? Well, the same thing makes me wonder, well, why didn't anybody ask the question about what did Obama mean about transform America? And the same thing with Joe Biden. Nobody ever is that. I mean, are we trained? Are we conditioned not to question anything? I even see students the same way. They won't question anything.
Yes.
They just kind of, I mean, what are we accept what we don't understand, or just people can just throw things out there and you know what I mean? And nobody, I don't know. Is that cognitive dissonance or what is it? What do you guys think?
The nice thing about Marxists is they like their phrases like, what was the big phrase that Obama used? Hope and change.
Yeah.
I never heard the phrase move forward so much in my life as under the Obama administration. I'm surprised I didn't hear them calling each other fellow travelers all the time.
Oh, what traveler?
That Mason terminology there again?
No, that's Marxist terminology.
But it's also Mason terminology.
Yes.
Because they remember they ask, are you a traveler? And a lot of times that's also then followed up by the doing some kind of handshake. Like that's how they identify each other. Like, are you traveling? So I mean, but once again, is that one and the same? Yeah, they're all in that. They all use the same identifiers.
If you want to dive into this, I can hook you up with another YouTube channel.
Heck yeah.
Queen of Conspiracy. Lately she's been on every evening.
Okay.
And she's into all of this.
Yeah, I do love this stuff. I know it's kind of an endless black hole that will never really be solved, but it is fun.
Well, I mean, even on the stranger conspiracy stuff, and I'm not talking aliens or anything like that.
Right.
World powers, movements that we don't know about. It's still good for people to exchange information that they've gleaned.
Well, I mean, I will say this. I mean, and I'd love to talk to Felicia.
Oh yeah.
I'm like moving around. I'd love to talk to Felicia about this. I know it's gotten beaten in the ground lately, and people are probably getting bored with it, and so I get it. But I'd really love to talk to you because she's actually doesn't she have a seminary degree? She was talking about.
I'm not sure. That's
she said she was she'd taken seminary courses and such, and I was like, oh, was that like a side thing, or is she like a full blown, certified pastor?
I think I recall that being mentioned.
Yeah, I mean, I know she said she took courses, and I was just like, oh, are you like actually, But I'd like to talk to her about Revelation because, I mean, not just Revelation, but all these different things. And one of the things is talking about, first off, pre-trib versus post-trib. And the reason why I kind of feel like that's important is just the readiness factor. I do feel like that too often with the pre-trib concept that sort of causes a lot of Christians to become sort of lazy. And they're like, well, whatever, I'm not going to have to deal with any of it. And I'm just like, well, I think that there's pretty ample evidence to show that, will go through the Great Tribulation, up until around about the sixth seal, which is technically, a lot of scholars say that's the beginning of the wrath, which you break it down like scripturally, it does make sense. That's the beginning of the wrath. And then there's also a lot of evidence, which once again, I'd like to go through scripture reading, that's the time that we finally see all the tribulation saints, up in heaven and so on and so forth. Right. He's like, who are these people? And it's just like these people in the white raiment who have washed their blood in that of tribulation and the martyr saints. And you're just like, and there's just no evidence to show, I just don't buy it. There's no evidence to show that, oh yeah. Like you look at this passage and when it goes up before the tribulation, and I go, give me one passage that makes sense. Like, even if you look at all of Paul's stuff with Thessalonians and so on and so forth, it makes it very clear that it even talks about that it's got to happen after the Antichrist appears, and that's at least the beginning of the tribulation, whatever. I mean, there's just a lot of facets to it, but I'm just saying the reason why I brought this up is it looks like the beginning of the tribulation, the Jacob's trouble. It appears, but I'm not sure that it's going to start, or I should say actually the beginning of the 70th week. My apologies. The beginning of the 7th week, not Jacob's trouble, is when the third temple starts getting built. Like, that appears to be what's up. And so that's what I'm saying is it looks like the final end goal. I'll say this and then I'll shut up. I've been talking too much right now. The final end goal of all of these dudes, whether it's Vatican or any of these guys, not so much the Satanists, right? Of course not. But the other guys, is the building of the third temple. They all seem to kind of have that infatuation with that. That seems to be a big end goal for all of these dudes. So, aside from their father being Satan, like, that seems to be a big unifier for them. Anyway.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. I really appreciate, hearing from both of you guys on screen. Oh, imagine that.
I would indulge that conversation with you, but I don't know how many hours
it's so
Autumn has set aside for a discussion like that.
You know what? I just realized that, Autumn, like, you have been so nice. We have been, you said like an hour ago, yeah, we're going to wrap it up. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
But you know what? I don't even think that kind of that manifest, by, I think it should happen. Sometimes those are some of the best streams that I've had. It started out, maybe somebody will come up today, and then nobody. And then when I don't expect anyone to come up.
Well, it's your channel and it's your lead wherever you want to go. But maybe on another occasion we can go that direction.
Right. Exactly.
Fun. Well, maybe I should, I don't know, maybe I don't know if my email is out there, but I'll definitely drop it in the chat. I mean, I'd like to do, I was talking to AZ earlier about, are you guys still there?
Well, there's a couple things I wanted to.
Are you guys still there? Sorry.
I'm here. I can hear you.
Yeah.
So. Okay, sorry. I think I went down for a second there, so that might be my.
All good.
That might be my sign there. But yeah, I'll put my email in the chat here, and I'd like to do some different types of shows. Bring some other not necessarily human interest, but bring some other elements to the platform, not just as a breath of fresh air, but I have interest in many things. And I think we're all just trying to stay sane, and we all want to have healthier and more balanced conversations, and I think I get that from you guys.
Well, like I said, it's your channel, and whatever you want folks to do is fine with me. You can't be everywhere. So,
well, you're being very much a gentleman, but I'm kind of being selfish in the sense that I kind of wish you probably covered this before, Autumn, but I kind of wish we could touch upon why is it for years and years that you've got that communist vibe has taken over the arts a long, long time ago, and it's interesting how powerful the arts, especially music, has changed the vibration of the world, right?
Now I think you're getting into I think you're about to get into some form of a DMA or PhD of music history. Like, I mean, but think
I
about
already
it, but
did,
you
but
know,
I already tried to do my one of my master thesis abstracts. You know, one of the ones that didn't go through, but I was like, I don't want to do this. Is trying to mathematically break down what is good music, and I actually got very far. Like, I'd written out the
did
thing.
you?
Yeah, I did. Part of it is actually breaking down Hofstadter's book. You know, I'm talking about the one he got the Nobel Prize for in '81, where he mathematically broke down how people like Bach and then Escher paintings and Michelangelo and whatever, he continued to apply the algorithm of the Fibonacci sequence, which is considered perfection in nature, to all of these different guys, and found that correlation with all of them, and was just like, no, these guys are awesome, and here's the math to show it, if they line up with nature.
Wow, this is above my pay grade.
No, dude, but it makes sense, right? He was primarily looking at the Bach cello suites, which, you know, hey, that makes sense. Who was the dude that you know, the analysis they put us through? What the hell was that stuff called? The really painful
the Schoenberg. Is it Schoenberg? Not
well,
Schoenberg.
well, you got the Schoenberg, and then you have the Schönberg. Like, I guess he had that history book or whatever, but not the Schoenberg, like the 12-tone rose and all this stuff like that. No, there was some dude like, there's some type of formal analysis you do, and I'm trying to remember what it was, but it was like a really anal formal analysis, you know, where you break down the thematic structure and the key center and where it modulates and all that kind of stuff like that. And I can't remember the dude's name, but he was like a big music theorist, and he said that the Bach cello suites were also an example of perfection. And I was just like, I don't think I'm going to argue with that. It's pretty. Those are pretty bomb right there.
Oh, this is you know, absolutely. It's reminding me.
It's
taking
so
me
nerdy.
back to
I'm
another
sorry.
time.
Sorry.
No,
So
it's absolutely it's fantastic. But you know, the thing about it is, you know, what was it? I don't want to get the wrong era, but what was it during? Many musicians were. I'm in my mind as a musician, I'm thinking, okay, censorship. You know, musicians have been censored forever. I mean, composers. French composers. I don't know, during Stalin, you know, you had everybody was, you know, like some of the best music that was ever composed, I think came out of was a response to tyranny.
Right.
You know what I mean? Is that some of the best art forms?
Well, I mean, like, last comment, because I always talk too much anyway. I'm sorry. But the thing I did do my master's thesis on, one of the components of it was actually breaking down, you know, what is creativity. That was one of the chapters, right? And believe it or not, you actually can quantify that. And one of the models was sitting there talking about the attributes that you find in highly creative people. And one of the things they noticed was not just high IQ and all that kind of stuff like that. But one of the things they noticed was usually there was struggle, conflict. Conflict was a key component, but especially a traumatic childhood. And then, of course, onward. And you absolutely see that with all of them. You know, like Bach, he was impoverished. He was only known as an organ player, pretty much. You know, and then you were talking about Russia. Look at Shostakovich. She was on the verge of being murdered all the time. You know, to be honest with you, I do agree with that one video that said that Stalin may have saved the Fifth Symphony. I agree that Stalin got on to Shostakovich about don't be so weird. And look, I respect the weird stuff that Shostakovich did. And people try to go that, you know, some of the snobby musicians try to go, the Fifth Symphony was like his sellout, you know, neo-romantic symphony. I'm like, I don't care. The Fifth Symphony is amazing. I mean, you can say whatever you want to. That symphony is his best. Like, I love all his other stuff, but it's definitely his best one. I don't care if he didn't like it or not.
Wow. Well, I see. I actually think this is absolutely fascinating. You know, that we're able to I mean, I think I remember I did a performance up in Santa Monica several years ago, and it was an Olivier Messiaen. It was one of his it was like a lesser known. It was a piece that they had discovered.
Yeah.
And yeah, just yeah, I just find that so much comes out of unfortunately art forms have come out of you know, some of the best crafted works have come out of dark times, or music has been the response. What was that? Not Stokowski, but Leonard Bernstein. This will be our response to violence. Well, I think music can still be our response today.
Well, now I guess we got to get composing, I suppose.
Yeah.
Have you composed anything? Oh, I'm sorry.
No, I haven't. I don't know. I've wanted to, but yeah. I mean, yeah. I've had to do rearrange things, do arrangements for students or whatnot. But me writing my own composition, can I do the artwork and the graphics? Yes.
We'll start with the Stravinsky methodology, where you confine yourself big time to major restrictions, and then that helps you to get started, and then from there you can break the rules. Like, because that's what Stravinsky would say, was he had to free himself from the burden of freedom, where it's just like when you have so many things to choose from, it makes it discouraging. So you start off with incredibly, restricted, structure. Just going to do this progression, and I'm only going to end up doing a ternary form, and I'm only, what I mean, blah 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 blah. It's a very strict sonata form. That's what I'm going to stick to. And then from there, you're like, you know what? I think I want to do this.
Yeah. Well, it's, I'm sure I'm going to try my hand at it. It's been a little bit intimidating for me, because I didn't really enjoy arranging so much. And I didn't really even enjoy, of course I didn't enjoy counterpoint. I didn't, like, oh my gosh, I got this pompous, this guy is like Oberlin. Oh, I went to Oberlin when I was 10 years old. And like, why is it that that's the thing about musicians? I will tell you
They're douchebags.
That why I know. And they all seem to be like just staunch, like they're staunch leftist, staunch liberal, staunch.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, and even in other things that I've looked into, it's like, what can you touch right now? What art forms or what industry can you touch right now that's not affected by the Marxism, or, what I mean? Can I design something just out of the pure joy, or design something, or just write something out of the pure whatever, without it being affected by any of this stuff that's going on right now? I can't even do that. And it's annoying to me.
Yeah,
it's annoying. So I don't know, but I really appreciate you guys. AZ, you got dropped. I think it's possibly it's my end. But yeah, we should definitely, I've already, I think I put my email in the chat or something, but I'd love to have you guys on for another, for maybe a different type of a, show, because I came on with just a couple of things for today, but then, there's so much out there, and it's nice to have people on and to interview somebody else and not be the talker all the time, not present all the time.
Well, thanks for having us on, but I'm going to go ahead and leave you be, because I could talk forever, unfortunately. All right, thank you.
Thank you guys so much. And I want to thank the chat, everyone in the chat, for hanging around, and for those of you that helped us out with our AI. Thank you, AZ Infidel, for coming on. AZ, we'll look forward to hearing from you again in a song or whatever you want to contribute. And thanks so much for coming on. Also, I'm going to give a warm thanks to everybody in the chat, and then I'll do a thanks to our sponsors, and then we'll close out your Sunday. You guys have a great start to the week. As I've said, I'll keep my ear to I'm sure my ear there'll be much availability for what's coming out tomorrow, for the theater coming out tomorrow. But I want to say thank you so much, JT Waterman, AZ Infidel, Joseph Francis Burton, who says Sibelius also had incredible, powerful music from War. Thank you very much. Also, R. Jones, thank you so much. You guys had so many stimulating contributions today, and just wow, I this is the greatest chat in on the tubes. Who else do we have here? I know we had Old Head Deuce. Thank you so much for coming in and coming up, Old Head Deuce. Thank you. And let's see, I know that the definition of anarchy, thank you so much for coming out today. I really appreciate it. The Information Man Show, thank you so much for coming in. Hope you're well, having a great weekend. And let's see, I'm scrolling over here. Alien Believers, thank you so much for coming in. And Paralysis by Analysis, that was very much fun to have you on. I really appreciate it. It's great to have you on. And let's see, who else do I have? I had Alien Believers. I think Chrysler Imperial H was here earlier. Thank you so much, Chrysler Imperial H, for coming on. I'm trying to think, did I miss anyone? If I miss anyone, it's not intentional. I really appreciate it. Thank you guys so much, and have a great rest of your weekend. And I'm going to give a warm thanks one more time to the sponsors. And if there's a chance tomorrow that there's a live stream, flash stream, moonlight stream, any of that, I will let you guys know. And AZ, please be on the look. I will be sending you an email. I will be doing that today. So thank you guys so much. And if there's a flash stream, live stream tomorrow, I'll let you guys know. But definitely I'll be back on Tuesday. And look forward to seeing you guys in. So just a word of thanks to our sponsors. And see you guys right back. This show is brought to you in part by our sponsors. Whether you're interested in health, culture, politics, scripture, automobiles, entertainment, history, and much, much more, there's something for everyone. So please check out Derek C. Williams, Killer Whale Channels, The Definition of Anarchy, Joseph Francis Burton, Chrysler Imperial H, Little Miss Goth, AZ Infidel, Cold War Jesus, Anthony Scioli, and Let the Truth Be Told. We'll be right back to the news right after this. We'll be back. We'll see you guys later in the week, and have a great Monday.